YouTube. Looking for YouTube. Just
Refreshing Twitch.
Yeah, is there
Nothing
is
so
it-
far.
Yeah.
Oh wait, live now. The video looks better on Twitch.
there we go, and there's YouTube.
Yeah, it looks better. Why? No, not really.
Yeah, I probably need a faster CPU.
Yep, it does look better. It definitely looks better.
Did you try upgrading it with a 6309?
I've got 2 of them. I don't think they're cooperating well, though.
They're not talking to each other?
Probably not. Okay, well, that's what we got for the moment. The sound is still a little fuzzy. I'm still trying to figure that out, so...
In the early days of
Yeah,
that
60
other
thinks
show,
it's coming from the wrong source.
Yeah, it probably is. I can't find the stupid routing and monitor thing. I think my OBS is updated. I'm like 30.1.2 now, and it's like, these menus don't look the same as I remember. So
They're not the same as you remember. Things moved a little bit.
that's what I'm thinking, because I can't find the right menus. It's like,
Yeah, OBS updated on me yesterday at work, and things were a little bit changed around. Thankfully, I don't use the menu system much.
right.
So the menu system items that I did use were still where they were supposed to be. That is the stay scene collection and
Yeah.
profile.
Yeah.
So, but a few other things have moved around.
Yep.
didn't we not use OBS in the beginning with Coco
We use Skype.
Talk?
Yeah, which no longer exists,
Oh,
right?
sorry.
Didn't Microsoft shut it down?
Well, did we use OBS at the beginning? We used Skype and what?
I mean, we just had windows like we have, and if you wanted to present something, you made it big, right?
Yeah.
We
Now,
can
audio
do
and
the
video
show
are a
that
little bit
way.
out of sync on YouTube. Sound is better. Lots of background noise, but not sounding bathroom echoey. So, you know,
Well, that's
the out of sync.
surprising.
Yeah, the audio out of syncness. Oh dear, there goes our frame
Yeah,
rating.
the video's going again.
Yeah, just turn it off. Let's just do it this way.
OBS frame rate's really not changing down here, though.
Yeah, no, it's not the OBS. It's not a problem in OBS. It's a problem in OBS and Zoom talking to each other.
Well, I just, it's just grabbing the screen. I mean, OBS is just grabbing the whole monitor and passing it. So
Well, they named
It's not doing it well then.
Yeah, it's just screen scraping.
yeah, screen
So a lot
scraping.
of-
So
Yeah, it's
Oh,
doing it
it's-
very not well.
It's BS.
yeah, see, Ron's looking pretty bad now
OBS
too.
is actually pretty darn good. It's just the question is, what method is it using to grab the window or the screen?
Right.
And whatever method it's using is CPU intensive and painful.
Yep. Yeah, I think I need a faster CPU. Yep.
Yeah, we're back to the
Mark,
frame a second thing now.
Yep.
Are we?
I think there is some settings on screen grabbing. Take,
Yeah.
have a look in the like whole screen or right screen
Mm-hmm.
source.
Okay.
See what's in there.
Capture method automatic display. Let's see. DXGI desktop duplication Windows 10 and up. Try that. See if there's a Windows 10 option. Any better?
Let's see. We need to see something like that. That doesn't look that terribly much better.
No, it doesn't. I don't remember seeing these options before either. It's like,
Thank you, OBS. You just gave us a whole bunch more options, and it broke our operations on Windows. What version?
Are you having electrical things going on outside?
I'm not.
That
You
would
know, like
that would
like,
not affect it.
like this.
Where is... Well, my Zoom at least is looking a little bit better here, but not by much. So, where'd Rick go? There's Rick. Rick, throw up that OS 9 thing again.
That's a resolution test.
Yeah, it's the one so far. Yeah. It's still looking kind of fuzzy at my end.
Is it
Yeah,
res
it,
or
it should pick
resolution?
up. It should, in a second or two, it should pick up. It's not changing.
Yeah, it's like it's slowly scanning it.
Sitting
but-
dead.
Yeah, slow scan TV.
Pretty much.
Back to WeFax. Well, we guess
Damn so.
unless Mark's gonna rush right back home, we're stuck with this for the moment. So,
Yeah, that
Um,
sucks.
Yeah, I'm about 45 minutes out.
all right.
All right. Well, we deal with the pain for a little while.
Welcome to the CoCoNation Slideshow Edition.
Yeah, yeah, very well said. Very well said.
This will play well on your 6309.
Theoretically.
Gonna clean up on aisle 3.
Okay, Rick, did you have something to show?
No, we're not going to get an 80-column screen on this video, so there's no.
Gotcha.
Well said.
Can you show it on a 32-column screen? That might work.
Have to reformat, Red.
Just zoom in.
Actually, the video on Twitch right now is looking a little bit better. Well, until I said that.
No, it's
It comes and goes.
It occasionally gets 3 slides in a row, but that's standard.
Yeah.
Well, Marco, I think this is finally the time that you have to, like, you're just going to have to buckle down and upgrade your 486.
Right?
It's already a Pentium 2. I mean, what's wrong with that? How do I get back to gallery view here?
Mark, you should know better than to run critical video infrastructure on an inferior operating system such as Windows.
I'd like to make the jump to Linux on this, but everybody else has been using Windows, and that's what all the structure is. But if I'm going to just deviate from that and do deltas on stuff, then yeah, I can do that. So.
Yeah, it's surprisingly easy because I mean I don't know about the infra outside of OneDrive, but if it's OneDrive, then you can get InSync HQ. We'll speak that.
Oh, yeah.
OBS runs natively on Linux.
I use it.
Zoom runs natively on Linux.
I'm gonna
If
ask
you're
you
going to
again for
use
the
a Pentium 2, you can't use this one.
Ah!
What is that, Rick?
That looks like a Pentium 2 single board computer built into a ZX Spectrum.
It's a ZX 5000 Plus, I think, or something like that.
Mark, what
Google
were you
used
saying?
to index the entire internet on Pentium 2s.
Sorry, Mark B, what were you saying?
So I'm going to ask you guys again sometime in the future about that sync client, because one time
InSync.
it broke for me.
Yeah.
All I can use is the browser.
Yeah, I haven't tried it. I haven't tried to sync up to OneDrive, but I use it continuously for Google Drive. And it works well.
It's working nicely for me. It actually synced down last week's updates, the Game On and the new to Discord. They wound up on my computer, so they work great. I cannot figure out here in Zoom how to get back to the gallery view. It's
Good luck.
It's like I
It
have
should be up in the upper right-hand corner.
upper right hand corner.
Upper right hand corner.
Oh, view.
Yeah.
Oh,
There we go.
Mark,
Yeah.
there's something I forgot to tell you.
Yeah.
On Zoom,
Yeah.
up in the top, that top corner there,
Yeah.
you want the sound for musicians on.
On? Okay.
On.
Yeah, I had it
That-
off. Yeah.
Yeah, so that would oftentimes blocks your sound from
Gotcha.
OBS into Zoom.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
I forgot
Certainly
about
brought
that.
your background noise up, Mark.
Did it? Yeah, I'm sure it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Zoom treats OBS as background.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I saw the view up there, but I thought that had to do with the original sound stuff, so I was ignoring it. Okay.
So we'll let you know as long as your fan's still on, because we can tell.
Okay. Okay. What's next, Curtis?
I don't even know where we are right now. Are we starting over, or what are we doing?
Projects and acquisitions. No use doing introductions. It's already half hour in.
Okay, so Rick, you're going to hold yours off because you don't think you'll get a readable 80-column screen.
Right, we aren't going to do anything worthwhile.
Brian, have anything to show?
He said he does if we have to go through some discs, and the other person was Frederic. Is he still here?
Yes, I am.
Frederic, show us
So
something.
yeah, I made myself a keyboard for my project, and it's not soldered yet, but I received a PCB. I don't know if I can see it.
Hold
there.
it really still so when the one frame catches it, we'll be able to see it.
Exactly.
We'll be able to watch that frame.
So basically,
When you want the latest.
matrix, and it's going to have all the keys like the Coco with a few extras, and also I made a keyboard plate.
Nice.
So that way it's gonna, and it's got, what's fun about it is that everything aligns. So if I put everything together, all the holes, and
Nice.
yeah, exactly. So I got my
That's a
view meter
feature.
here. I got my post display right here, and keyboard arrow keys here, F1, F2 on the side, escape here, clear here. Yeah, they're a bit, they're not arranged like a Coco.
Oh,
I decided like new keyboard, might as well do something new, right?
The only thing I see
And-
missing there's a numeric keypad. Any plans for that, or you just don't use them that
No,
much?
no, it would have been too big.
Ah,
so
okay.
you said 8x8 matrix. Are you bodging in the 8th row into the PIA?
I'm going to use actually a microcontroller for that.
I saw those chips on the side there.
So also I got something else. Let me see. Hold on a second. I just need to unwrap that badge. Oh yeah, there it is. Ta-da!
Oh, an MC10.
Ooh,
To add to my collection.
Nice.
right?
And I got something else with it. Don't know if it works, but it might because there's stuff printed, but a thermal printer. A bit yellow.
DP10.
Sweet.
Yes.
Affectionately called by some of us the toilet paper 10.
And memory expansion. Along with books and the power supply.
Okay, that's a standard Tandy expansion, not one of the more updated ones with SD card readers and stuff, I presume.
No, it's a standard one, 16K RAM expansion.
Yeah, I'll take you up to 20K.
So yeah, so like I said earlier, renovations are being finished this weekend. So next week I'll be able to have my workbench set up and start working on things. But I do have bad news though. I know some of you know already, but I won't be able to make it to CoCoFEST.
Oh.
So yeah, that's
We'll miss you.
that's it for my my announcements and acquisitions.
Okay. Anybody else have any project updates? Brian, you were mentioning some discs. If you want to quickly go through a few. If you're still there.
Let's just pass. It's literally a box of about 250 discs, so we'll just.
You don't have to do them all at once. You could do like the first 10 or something.
Well, if you guys want, I can do a quick update on my keyboard here. My own keyboard.
Oh, wow. Competing keyboards all in one show. Let's go for it.
Right. I should get some out too, I guess.
Mine's
Hang on,
bigger.
let me- It is.
Right.
Mine fits in the original case. And is keyboard compatible, Coco compatible. Let me see here.
Mine's gonna fit in my new case that I showed you a month ago.
Okay. So yeah, I wasn't able to be on the show last week when Curtis talked about the latest video, but unfortunately I've had some issues going on myself that mean I also will not be able to make the fest this year.
Oh.
Unfortunately. But I'm still working on my keyboards here. I got this piece of white paper here just so you can see the LED a little easier. Without the paper, it just looks like it's going white. Basically, it's doing red, green, blue by default.
Yep.
But what I've done here, unplug this, pick this up, and I just have this little magnetic connector here. All right. So that I've got 3 jumpers here now on the bottom of the board. 2 of them are going to be for modes. So it's either going to go red, green, blue, or since I just took that one off, it'll go cayenne, magenta, yellow. Just for something different. And then I haven't
Is there a
set the other
background
2 up yet.
noise
Yeah,
going somewhere?
somebody's
Yes.
whistling the Klingon theme.
We have a Mad Piper. Yes.
Whoever that is, please mute.
And the final one, yeah, the final one here is just an inverter. Some of my turbo boards output a Q signal and some of them output a not Q signal. So that just makes an easy way to read either board. And you just let that magnet plop right down. And I have switched this to the cayenne magenta yellow mode. And then go ahead and
It's interesting. I'm getting very pixelated picture from Bob. Now it's looking a little bit better, but everybody else looks nice and sharp.
Well, do the colors mean anything to you? To each hue or each color, each when it's pulsating like that?
not in that particular mode, but give me a second here. All right.
So,
Boom.
You
Okay.
have to sync it up to the disco cursor.
oh yeah.
So we're at normal speed now. So it's just doing the slow fade when you're at normal speed, whether it's red, green, blue, or cayenne, magenta, yellow. That's just, you know, your pattern selection. But when you go to turbo mode, oh, I have to plug in the keyboard. Luckily, that's safe.
Right.
So now I'm on double speed, and it's not double speeding.
That's okay. These demos don't go well for Microsoft either.
I took off the invert jumper, or I put it on incorrectly. So now the screen says normal, but it's doing the turbo mode on the LED. So it just goes yellow to red, yellow to red. And then I can't demonstrate the triple speed mode, but it'll go twice as fast, and it'll just do red, like bright, and then fade out bright, and then fade out red. Kind of like the heartbeat on Daggerath.
Oh, there's a perfect use for it. Tie that in. Just do a patch to Daggerath. When your health's really bad, change it to red. Like get it redder and redder, and blue is like you're healthy or something.
The thumb.
So, question: where did you? How did you do your keycap legends?
Okay, so pop this back there. These top 12, the at key, the clear key, these arrows, and these arrows are just stickers.
Okay.
And they're it's the like super thin plastic wire label stickers.
Okay.
Not like paper. So they sit pretty smooth and flush. They are kind of bubbling a little bit, but this is kind of I'm gonna do dye sublimation, but I wanted to get the, print them out and see how they look first. I'm not super happy with how these turned out, but
yeah, okay.
They still look pretty good. But yeah. Yeah, mainly just showing off how the jumpers work, and figured out some of the problems that keep me up at night. Not really.
Right.
But anyway, this is the version 2B. Version 3, the LED is going to be moved over to the other corner because I need that space for something else. Hint, hint. Anyway, that's all I got.
Okay, cool. And hopefully the video came across well enough on the stream here. People could see what they're looking at.
One more.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
One more function I forgot about. So there's, let me get rid of this. Okay. All right, so this red wire right here, I don't know if you can see it, but that's just a temporary jumper for my test thing that I'm doing here. That's actually simulating my when this color computer has a 5-volt standby. Uh-oh, my internet's crapping out. Okay. So if I pull that wire, it thinks the color computer is turned off, and it goes into like a sleep mode. So I don't know. My bandwidth is probably crap, but it's just slowly fading a little bit of white up and down.
And that means the computer's asleep, or I was trying to catch what you said there.
Yeah, it's basically turned off. The computer is turned off, but there's still 5 volts going to like the RGB to HDMI. The monitor will sync up instantly. If you don't do that, it takes about 6 or 7 seconds for the monitor to sync up.
That's important. That's for the all-important wake on LAN function.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, it's just another example of things that we can trigger. I just used the little the Pro Mini with different inputs, so we can do lots of feature creep with this one.
Yeah.
That is what we're known for.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's interesting. Our Twitch is delaying later and later behind the live Zoom. I've been watching during Bob's whole production, and it just there's more delay and more delay and more delay. At some point, somebody's going to run out of RAM somewhere.
Yeah, it's interesting because OBS is not showing any dropped frames. The bitrate's been fairly close to 6,000 kbits, and
it's just I'm still talking on the Twitch, and will be for another 15 seconds compared to where we are now. It's strange, very strange.
That's a bit beyond our control now until Marc gets home, so we'll just have to
Right? No, it's
wing it. Hopefully, we won't lose a bunch of viewers over it.
Man.
I've noticed that I think it's probably because where I'm located in the country that a lot of times I seem to be behind on like the Twitch and YouTube watching the stream go live. So I think it may have something to do with some sort of distancing or the number of hops going through.
Something we can try to do also is do a live switchover. Like if I take over, can we do it seamlessly like we used to be able to do?
It'd be cool.
We'll give that a try.
Now you're gambling with hand grenades.
Right.
Yep. like if I start the stream, what's it going to do? Is it going to kick you off, or are we going to fight?
Fight.
Place your bets now, chat. When he gets home, what's going to happen when he tries to join the stream?
Go.
There you go. A reason to stick around.
Yep.
That's right. We're gonna have a good video collation here.
So who's next? What's next?
I think that's it for project updates because Brian doesn't want to do any of his discs. Though I'd be fine if he just did like 10 of them. We know, like I said, I don't have to go through all 250 of them.
Hey, Brian, pick your favorite 10.
Or even the first 10.
Hmm.
Yeah.
If he's there. Apparently not. Okay, well, after that, I guess we'll go on to the Game On Challenge.
Okay, I think I got the right video queued up.
Sorry, Curtis. Yeah, I was here, but I've already covered my workbench with the project I'm working on, so we'll just wait for another time.
Well, likely excuse. Likely
I'm doing serious stuff now. Y'all go away.
I don't think
Translation, what he said is that you just bought another 250 discs on eBay and he's going to wait till he has all 500.
Yeah. Either that or those discs don't exist. As maybe none of his collection exists. He just keeps bringing the same things out over and over again and says he just picked these up.
He's sorting out his Pokemon cards.
He's got so many that, we never know. He's recycling stuff.
Oh, by the way, stream title needs to be changed in YouTube when we get to it. It's saying that we're episode 178 on YouTube.
Really?
Yes.
Cool. My stuff here says 409.
Yeah.
Oh, we've gone back in time.
We go back
Way
inside.
Yeah, Rick, we thought we had lag on the audio before. Well, let me tell you. It's 2022, buddy.
Trying to change some to theme music and get
Welcome to
some old
COVID,
folks
and no, just kidding.
Okay, so I guess I click the high score challenge, and then we go into the Game On results. Does that sound about right?
Sure, hit a button, see what happens. Take your bets, folks.
Let's see what happens.
Welcome to the Game On Challenge slideshow.
Welcome to the CoCoNation streaming challenge.
Okay, here we go.
everybody
now,
to
of
the
course, we won't hear Ken
CoCoNation
talking about
Game
the score
On
locally,
Challenge of the
but
Week
you'll hear it.
results video. You could just watch.
I'm
This
actually
week,
doing
we
quite
played
well on
Beanstalker.
Yeah, actually,
We had a total of
For a moment, yeah.
15 players. We had Marc B with 55
Was it really just the
Ed
screen
Rhodes
grab
73.55,
interface bogged
Mike
down?
Zwiffel 76.45, Mark O 78.85, Frederic 83.45, Retro Rick 13,250, Henry the Third
Our audio is coming
14,270,
through underneath
Jim
the
Rye 15,430, Mr. Dave 6309 21,510, Coconut Bob 26,830, L Curtis Boyle 32,895, Tasman 37,615, Canadian Retro Things 46,765, Dr. Ted 119,855, and
Actually, it
this
was
week's
main
number
screen
one
with
score
the
belongs
title
to
for Game On Results.
Buck Owens
I
with
think.
146,
Okay, just remember we have
790.
hot mics right now.
Thanks
They can
everybody
hear
that
everything we're
played.
saying.
We'll see you again next week.
Okay, so who was the winner?
It was Mr. Buck Owens. Congratulations. It's a name we haven't seen at the top of the list for a while.
Oh darn! I had a special slide for him too.
Too
I
bad.
still maintain.
Yeah.
we've
The
never seen-
moment has passed.
Yep.
I still maintain we've never seen Dr. Ted and Buck Owens together at the same time. Is it really different people?
Actually, Dr. Ted was in second place, so as a matter of fact, they were competing right up to the end last night.
Well, all right. Well, I guess we've got to give him that congratulations to Buck Owens for this week's Game On Challenge top score. Can we give
There
him a
you go.
salute?
Salute! Alrighty then. Let's see if I can figure out what I'm doing here. Okay, so I did find an article here in Dragon User May 1986. Let's see if this okay, let's see, the guy wrote a very short review of this, basically saying it's the cutest set of graphics ever seen. I'm not sure that's true, but it was interesting. We'll get into that in a bit. The game is wonderful, fabulous, plays well, looks fine, sounds groovy, packaged nicely, very addictive, a combination of skill and logic to test even the most intelligent players. And then he just finished it off with, said, with the game, you either rant about it for pages or simply say how good it is and stop talking. And that's why he did a very short
95.
review. And got 5 dragons out of 5. So he did enjoy that game.
Did everybody else enjoy it though?
Yeah. Well, I know Buck Owens certainly enjoyed it. And he actually figured out how to use the graphics editor in it. So
yeah, it's
you
got a
can
built-in
actually-
thing
yeah,
where you
it's
can
got-
change, modify your levels, and they even sold a patch called Beanpatch or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That you
well,
can
you're
actually save
supposed
the
to-
levels you changed.
Yeah, you're supposed to. It's a add-on that costs $2 that you're supposed to buy to edit levels for it. But
Yeah, that was interesting.
there was a way.
They sold us an upgrade.
Yeah.
You still buy it.
No.
For £2, I guess.
The patches escaped. Everybody has it now.
But yeah, I would definitely have to say that it, as loadrunner style games go, this one definitely had a good variety of differences in each level, like different characters, different treasures that you're picking up, even different ladders that you're climbing. So it didn't get boring. And it's interesting because the guy that actually made that game is also the guy that made Jet Set Willy. I'm assuming the version that's on the Dragon. So, what did other people think of this game? I really enjoyed it personally.
Lots of fun.
I found it pretty tedious trying to hit the beanstalks correctly. I kept having to hold the up arrow or down arrow and then move left and right till I caught it. And then got to jump off the left and right because you run out on a little stalk and then you're stuck. And then you get
That's definitely was the one small drawback of it, but I got over that pretty quickly, figuring out how to do it. You basically, when you're running forward, you have to, I found using the keyboard was the best thing. Because when you're trying to climb something, when you're running forward, you also use the up arrow key, and you'll immediately start going up. So you just got to learn to hit the key in the direction you want to go before you get to that spot.
Right.
Didn't Buck Owens say he had a much easier time using the joystick, or was that Dr. Ted?
He did. No, that was Buck Owens. He did, but he was also playing it on original Dragon. So I don't know if there's. I can't really say because I didn't play it on the Dragon, so I don't know if it was maybe just a little more precise on the Dragon, or.
Well, I pulled it up on Dragon, on a Dragon and X-Roar, and it seemed a bit pixel perfect-ish, but I'm not a regular game player, so, and I was using keyboard controls, which made it relatively easy-ish for me.
Oh, you want pixel perfect? Wait till you see some of one of the games I chose this week.
You bastard!
Oh, that was actually a good evil cackle. Do more.
All right. Anyways, definitely, probably, actually, I would have to say it's my favorite loderunner game that I've come across on the Coco. Probably even on any other version, other computer too.
That's pretty good praise.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy it. Enjoyed it a lot more than the original loderunner.
Now, like Buck, would you prefer to have the two keys to dig left and dig right by control as opposed to the last direction you ran or facing?
Yeah, that would be one upgrade that would be good for it, but I think I've played loderunner on so many computers where it is always just digging in the direction that you're moving that I'm pretty used to it. So yeah, other than that, I don't know what else to say, but it's definitely, if you're a fan of that style of game, then it's definitely something to pick up and try out and play. Because I think one of the problems I always had with loderunner is that it's just the same thing over and over and over again. It's the same enemies, same treasures, just different layout of the screen every time. So
it's really the puzzle. In Loadrunner, you get the things where you have to like dig multiple levels, or you have to.
Yeah, you got that in this one too.
Yeah, and there are places where you can get trapped, and you have to literally kill yourself in order to continue.
Yeah, well, that's last week. I did actually run into one thing that never happened in Loadrunner, but as I was falling through a hole, it filled in, and it just stuck me there halfway into the hole, and with just my head and my arms sticking out, and didn't kill me.
Right. Yeah, that'd be an oversight, a bug. It should either let you fall through or killed you.
Yeah. And it was in a spot where none of the bad guys could get to me, so I could have just left it running indefinitely and never died.
It was definitely good to see that we had real competition for the top spot, though, instead of somebody scoring 10 times what everybody else did.
Well, and actually, even the high scores were. Well, they started out as only being about double, but went to triple what the other scores were. But yeah, it was interesting because Buck Owens was in the lead, then Dr. Ted beat him, and then at the last minute, Buck Owens posted another score and beat Dr. Ted. So
I score sniped him.
Yep.
Yeah, and since he made it up to level 30, he's literally halfway through the 60 levels built in the game.
Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. Anybody else have anything else to say about Beanstalker?
I managed to get to level 2.
Well, there you go. There's the highest praise. It's a good game.
That's a 5-star game for Marc.
If it can hold Marc's attention long enough to get him to level 2.
I got a question though about Beanstalker. You know, sometimes there's the bean is like buried, but 2 levels down. How the heck do you get to that level because you can't dig sideways or dig twice in the same spot.
You can't dig twice the same spot, but you have to dig two in a row, jump down one, and then dig.
Oh.
Jump.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like
So
the
you
original
do,
Loadrunner.
you have to do like a pyramid thing to get down to
Inverted pyramid,
those
yeah.
ones.
Okay.
And then there's also one difference in Beanstalker that I don't think you could do in Loadrunner is that if you pushed right up against a wall, you could dig under that wall.
And
So
that
there
is
is
necessary on some of the levels.
It's necessary that you land in a spot, you have to dig under the wall, then move back, dig another one, then you can go down and under and get out.
Okay.
So
I just want to warn everybody too here. I've just had 2 notifications and 2 freeze ups where it says my internet connection is unstable, and it's not my router for a change. It's been running fine. So we'll see how the news goes when we get to it.
honestly, will anybody even notice? Because they'll probably be napping.
Probably not.
All right, so that's that for Beanstalker. The other game that we were playing this week was Morocco GP.
Yeah, Monaco GP is the arcade game it's based on.
Yeah, and I have to keep remembering that. So Morocco GP, so it's your basic car driving game. If you get to, I think it's 2,000 points, you get extended play, and you move into other types of roads like icy roads or gravel roads.
Night driving.
Night driving. So it does
With sofas?
No,
that's coming out at
sorry.
CoCoFEST. We'll be covering that later in the news, actually.
Oh, okay.
There's an update.
Ooh. But yeah, I mean it's a fairly basic game. One of the things that you can do in this game that I don't know if many people figured out or not, but usually you start at the side of the road and then you move over to get onto the road. But if you push the joystick the other way, you actually wrap around the screen and can come onto the road from the other side. So
it's toroidal.
Yeah. So sometimes if you've got cars coming towards, like once you get banged off the road, if you're staying off the road, the timer still goes down, but you don't get any points at all until you're back on the road.
Correct.
So sometimes you might have to wait an extra couple seconds for all the cars to go by. So it's actually faster to wrap the screen around and come on the other side and start your point counter going again.
Suppose you're already going that way, eh? I'm already going left, keep going left till I'm on the right again.
There you go.
Yeah, because it always starts you, I think, on the right-hand side, regardless which side you crashed on, right?
Yep.
Remember?
Yeah. Yeah, it always, as soon as you crash, it just flops you over to the right-hand side of the screen, lower right-hand side.
Yeah. And after extended play, you have so many crashes, I think, it actually gives you a number of spare cars in there. But you have to get the 2,000 points within, what is it, 100 seconds, I think?
Something like that, yeah. I made, what was it, 1,975. That's my highest so far. So.
Just about.
Yep. Just missed it.
I will mention this is one of Mr. Lustig's earliest games. He did this for Computerware mid-82-ish, I think. So pretty early on. This is before he did Moonhopper and a whole bunch of others that we've actually played on the show before. So it's one of his earlier games. But it's one of the first ones I saw where you try to do better artifacting colors than just the raw 4, like some of the other early games did. He put quite a bit of detail into the cars and stuff to try to make them look a little bit more colorful and decent. No, it's not the smoothest game. It doesn't have the best sound. It's an early one, but I did appreciate the detail he put into the cars.
And it's Coco history, so, and it's a popular style of game, especially at that time, because I think every computer I ever played with always had some version of
the vertical scroller. Yeah.
The vertical scroller driving game. So
Mike's wife on the chat says, I tried it in high speed poke. Very hard.
It's very hard in normal speed pokes, so.
Yeah.
All right, so I don't know. Other than the moving to the side of it, I don't think there's really any tips or tricks for the game.
I have one.
What?
Don't forget you actually have control of the accelerator. If you've got 2 sets of 2 cars coming and they're about to collide or not give you much time to go between, if you slow right down, it'll give you way more time to navigate between them or to dodge them. So don't forget you can do that, because a lot of us just go pedal to the metal and try to do the whole game like that. At least I do by reflex. And slowing down actually does help quite a bit when you're getting kind of crunched between 2 sets of 2 cars.
there is a break, so learn to use it.
Yeah. I get told that in real life all the time too. So, especially by Ken.
I have a sneaking suspicion that they borrowed the AI for the enemy cars and used it in Retrofest.
All right. So I guess that's it for that game. And now we will talk about the live Game On challenge that we did on Thursday.
Awesome.
And just before you get into that, I will mention that Chris Durst says everyone, if they just held their head still on the panel, we wouldn't notice the low frame rate.
And not talk.
Sorry, can't do that. I'm a chair swiveler.
He's an action figure, folks.
With 15 points of articulation.
Really? I've only actually got 4.
That's just old age.
Okay, so as you can see, there was a bunch of people playing Morocco GP. Somebody down there playing Beanstalker. Somebody was playing Time Bandit. So
I'm gonna guess Bob.
No.
No. Oh wow.
The guy that's got his camera on, I think he was. I can't remember his name, but I think he was the one that was playing Time Bandit.
Yeah, because I joined in quite late. I think about an hour into the show or something. So,
Albert.
See, so yeah, like we had 9 people playing. Well, 8 people, I guess, playing different games. So I think everybody was having fun. We went for how long did we go for? Well, just about 2 hours. So that was a pretty good game.
Actually, Ken, I got some feedback. I don't know if you caught Tim and AJ's show this week. We'll be covering it on the Game On News later on, but they played one of our Game On Challenge games for a couple weeks ago. And AJ mentioned that her job currently, she doesn't finish until 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. Would that give her enough time to come on to the show and play even for a few minutes? Or are you guys usually done by then?
We usually finish at around this night we finished around 7 Pacific time.
So she could have technically made the tail end of that one if she really wanted to, but does that normally happen that late or no?
Yeah, usually. I mean, lately we haven't actually been starting till about local time 5:15, and then we've been going till about 7.
Okay, I'll maybe mention that as a respond to their video then, because even she could pop in for 15 minutes, it'd be nice to have them. And I also told her to give Tim crap just because he doesn't show up, and I don't think he has that excuse.
So yeah, we had fun. And as I said here, it's around 5:15 Pacific time that we start the show, which is 8 to 8:15 or so. Depends on whether Sloopy shows up on time or not. So, yeah, and as you can see, we don't necessarily play the games of the week. We play other games too. So, as long as they're Coco games, or even if you want to do some programming live on the screen.
Well, that's what I'll do next time. I'll do some Nitrous 9 programming for y'all.
There you go. Yeah, so it's in
You could even do some soldering.
Yeah, you could.
Let's not get insane here.
I want to see if somebody does soldering. Will Curtis just burst into flames?
No, I'll just leave the stream before I become too traumatized. I can only take so much PTSD.
Anyway, so yeah, it's Thursday nights, and it's in the Discord channel, the Game On Challenge Live Discord channel, so everybody can join there. Or if you just want to join on Twitch or YouTube to throw some comments out in the stream there in the chat, we'll probably see them. Sometimes we get so into the games that we're a little late on responding to comments in the stream, but all right, so I guess it's time to see what we are doing for.
And you already pre-warned us it's going to be terrible.
Well, also because in 2 weeks it's CoCoFEST. I just assumed that we're not going to have a show that day because I think anybody that streams the show is going to actually be at CoCoFEST. So just in case we're not having a show, I actually chose 2 games this week, assuming that they're going to go for 3 weeks.
Did you want to try to organize a special for the people that can't make it to CoCoFest?
Yeah.
A special game on challenge live just within Discord, not to stream out to everybody, but maybe get everybody in the
on
Coco community
Thursday,
involved that
we'll-
weekend?
Thursday, well, I don't know.
Like on Saturday, I meant. Like in place of the regular show.
I have no idea. Or aren't we going to be streaming stuff from, like, isn't there going to be a stream from the show floor that...
Sloopy is a third streamer. And
True.
he's not going to be going.
Yeah, that's true. So we might have a show, we might not. I'm just calling it because there's we don't know. I'm just saying that there won't be a game on challenge on that day, just to make sure that everybody has the extra week to post scores for these games.
Okay. Brian Weasler, if you're there, since you actually attended the meetings for planning CoCoFest and stuff for Glenside, has there been any talk about streaming live from the show? Including seminars or just from the floor?
No, I have not heard anything related to streaming live from there, other than what Randy might be doing from the presentations.
Okay.
Anyway, so the first game is this one. Who's got the paper rustling in the background? Okay. The first one that we are going to be doing, obviously the name of the game is right on the screen there, but this is a Tom Mix game.
If anybody completes this whole game, I'll be very surprised.
Sure,
So-
Dr. Dan.
I was looking, and you can choose which layout of the game you want to play. There's multiple levels, right? Like, it's not just going from screen to
There's
screen.
lots. For
Okay,
those
so
who are
it
looking at the screen right now, and it's a static screenshot, should be coming through okay. This is basically a maze of rooms, kind of like you see in Seamus and stuff, but you can see the map of the maze up in the upper right corner. So each one of those little blue squares is one of the rooms that you're in. You have to get the key and exit out. Once you get the keys for all the levels, you get to go to the center, the reactor part, the red center. And once you complete that one, then you go on to the next maze. But like Ken was saying at the beginning, you can move the joystick left and right and go through, I think there's 20 sets of these rooms or something like that. So there's a lot to go through.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna worry about which one you start on. So
No, it
choose
doesn't matter
one
for
to start
scoring
on.
at all.
Yeah.
So there's even one that spells the word mix.
Yeah. So yeah, lots of gameplay in this one. So, and as you can see, once you clear the screen, you can go through one of these doors. Like, yeah. So my
it'll match. The doors will match the hallways that you can exit. So you can see you out the corner. You got
so
3 exits.
you're in the empty room up there. It shows by in the top corner there. So, and as you can see, there's 3 exits that you can go through: bottom corner, bottom, and the right hand side. And so that's the 3 hallways that it shows up on the map here. So, and I think you're trying to get to this hallway, the one in the middle.
Yeah, I think you can't get in there until you've gotten all the keys for all the other rooms, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
I haven't played it in a while, but yeah, this was actually one of my favorites as a kid. High speed, fast paced, decent sound effects, lots of maps to choose from.
And just so everybody can see it, let me see. There we go. That's what the title screen looks like. So chambers. And the other game decided to go with a little bit of pixel perfectness.
Oh, this is the one you warned us about.
Now, you may have recognized this from last week. And you may notice it says ZX128K in the bottom. That'll give you a hint on where this is from.
It's an AGD game. Is this one of those new assembled ones?
It's from the pack that just came came out.
But there's two
last-
versions of the packs
last
he's
week.
been releasing lately. Some have been
Oh.
the regular interpreted version, and then there's the new ones he's been converting the engine that compiles right to assembly.
Well, okay, I'm not exactly sure. But it runs very smoothly. So
Okay, might be one of those then. I
So
can't
the
remember which
idea in
type.
this game is you're the little dog up in the corner here, and you have to try to get the little. You're just trying to collect
Bones?
the bones.
Okay.
Yeah, and you've got avoid everything. There's dripping acid, and there's spiders and bats and mice and everything else to try and kill you.
And it's pixel perfect.
And it's pixel perfect. And this game is called Chispy. So, yeah, I thought, hey, let's play a game where you're a cute little dog.
Hey, kick me, dog.
Getting mauled.
So I will actually post the copy of this game into the Discord channel, so people can just get it from there. But I'll also post where you can actually get the whole disc from, because there's actually 4 games on the download. So
Yeah, within that pack.
within that pack. So yeah, so that's it. So these ones will actually be for 3 weeks.
Cool. Bit of variety there. I've never played Chispy at all, so that'll be one to.
I'm
give it a
assuming
try.
that not a lot of people have. So
Chambers I've played a fair bit, but not in 30 years, so I don't know how well I'm going to do in that. Cool. And when is the live show, Ken?
Thursday night at 5 o'clock Pacific time, 5:15, somewhere in there. And that's 8 o'clock Eastern time. Thursday nights, Discord channel, Game On Challenge.
Oh yeah.
And AJ, try to be there if you can at the tail end, if you get a little chance after work, and Tim, just show up.
Yeah, if you show up late, if you show up late, we'll I mean, there's no set time for us to quit, so we can even stay on the air longer just for you if you show up.
Yeah.
And this is it, because next Thursday is a driving day. After
Yes.
that.
Yes, it is.
And
I'm
setup
assuming
day.
there's not going to be a lot of people here on Thursday night playing the game, because it will be everybody that or in 2 weeks. Not going to be a lot of people because they'll be setting
En
up for
route
CoCoFEST,
or
but
yeah.
en route or
Can't remember what time I expect to be arriving in Chicagoland, but I think it's going to be. I'll be arriving there early enough, I think, on Thursday, that if I forget about trying to set up on Thursday night, I can probably get on there, but I'm not sure.
or you could set up really quickly and play right from the show floor.
This is true. This is very true.
And don't forget, you can play these online on XROAR too, so you can just
Yep.
use your
So
regular
that'll-
modern
it
computer,
should
hop
be-
on and go.
So if you're in Chicago on Thursday night, it will be 7 o'clock there for when the Game On Challenge starts. So.
Thank you for reminding me, because I would have forgotten.
And I see Mark B made it home.
I am home, and the Zoom switched over without a glitch.
Oh, is that why things are working good?
Yeah, we're all moving. We're animated now.
No, that was my Zoom. But I'm getting my OBS fired up, and I'm just about to take over Zoom, and we'll see what happens there.
Oh, so basically you just joined and it started working better because it knows you're here.
Yeah,
It's like,
well,
Mark is here. Mark is here.
It knows the captain, the dad is back in the room.
so on my laptop, when I logged in, it saw that I was on my phone and asked, "Do you want to just switch?" So it just switched over.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a cool feature. I like that about Zoom.
So let me log in as CoCoNation on the main Zoom.
Okay, so forewarning to everybody watching the live stream, it might blow up because it's today.
Yeah,
if it does, we should be back up fairly soon, so you may just have to do a refresh on your YouTube or your stream.
Because we're going back to Windows 7 if it blows up again.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Okay. Well, I took over TCN Zoom.
Cool.
Let me set some settings.
Stream still running?
Yeah,
At least
because
on Twitch?
Mark still has the
I'm
stream.
still streaming, yeah.
Okay.
So I got a couple of things I got to flip to.
Oh, interesting. So in Zoom it says Marc joined. He's the CoCoNation co-host, and I'm the host right now.
Okay, so I'm going to claim host.
Yep.
Okay, I've got host.
Yep. And I'm just
And
CoCoNation
so now I can find the buttons I'm looking for.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to attempt to press start. See what happens here.
Yeah.
I might have to hit stop before you do, so we'll see.
Okay, I'm going to start recording, and oh, I need that, and here we go.
Got IO says.
It says connecting. It says we cannot.
Oh!
Oh, darn.
Wah, wah, wah.
Let me hit the stop streaming button.
Okay, and I should.
I must stop.
Okay, coordinate this.
All right, I'm ready.
3, 2, 1.
Hey Amy. Hey Taylor. We're watching the CoCoNation show. Yeah, we are. Woo! You should too.
Hello everyone, it's your good buddy, your good pal Amigo, and joined by that dastardly The Brent from ARG Presents.
You're watching CoCoNation.
I feel like that should have been longer.
The CoCoNation show would like to thank the following patrons. AC's 8-Bit Zone, Alex Gare, Alan Huffman, Brendan Donahue, Brian Walsh, Brian Weasler, Kieran Anscombe, Coconut Bob, Daddy Burrito, David Ladd, Derek Smithson, Diego BF109, Don Barber, Eric Canales, Frederic Segard, Glenn Hewlett, Graham Wabke, Grant Leedy, Henry Gernhardt, Henry Strickland, Jason Warrens, Jim Mullis, Jeffrey Drywater, Justin Larson, Ken Reichard, Patrick Euland, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, R. Allen Murphy, Retro Tech Time, Richard Harding, Rob Inman, Rocky Hill, Steve Batson, TJB Chris, Tom C., Tom Gunderson, Tom S., and William Athing. Thank you so much, patrons. If you would like to support the CoCoNation show, sign up at patreon.thecoconation.com.
Welcome to everybody's favorite segment, Who's New to Discord?
Richard A.E. says, "Hi, my name is Rich. And I'm a Cocoholic. So one day my dad brings home a TRS-80 color computer, 2 disk drives, and a pile of pirated software. I have had no social life since. I picked up a Coco 2, did the 64K upgrade and got a Coco SDC and a switcheroo. And that's all I need?" Quester72 says, "Hi, my name is Simon, and some of you may know me as the face behind the Dragon Archive, and certainly the UK Dragon owners will know me from the various meets we have had in Cambridge and Port Talbot. I've been into retro for many years and have a wide range of systems, but the Dragon was my first computer, so has a special place in my heart." Rich L says, "Quickly about me, I was a Coco 2 user way back in the early 80s. About 2 years ago, I picked up emulators and rediscovered the joy of 8-bit computing. I also recently retired and I have more time to indulge in retro computing. Currently, I'm working through the Leventhal book to dust off my assembly skills. The previous bios were edited for time. Thanks to Frederic Micro Hobbyist Sigard, Glenside Computer Club, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, Tandy Color Computer 3, and the CoCoNation patrons for boosting the server. Please consider joining Discord and visiting the welcome section to read these bios in full and see what the community has to offer. Just go to discord.thecoconation.com.
See you on Discord.
When you want the latest in TRS-80, Tandy, Dragon, MC-10, and all of their hardware cousins. No matter what it takes, or where news breaks, from around the world to your nation. The CoCoNation News with L Curtis Boyle.
Okay, I'm going to start slow now that we've got Marc streaming again. Hopefully things will run a lot smoother here, but I'll start with still pictures. We'll do all the upcoming show announcements first. So hopefully you guys are seeing some old computers sitting on a table. Okay, so the first one up is next weekend, actually, Saturday, April the 26th, at the Spring Dallas-Fort Worth Retrocomputing Meetup, which runs from noon until 4 p.m. local time at the Bingo Bingo in Grand Prairie, Texas. I think, Bob Emery, you're one of the people that attends this, and there's some other Coco people that go to this one, too, from what I remember. Is Bob still here, or did he end up leaving? Oh, maybe he left. So I don't know if he was planning on attending this particular one, but basically it's a nice little... Oh, you are, okay.
Sorry, yeah, I was muted. I'm here, and yeah, I will likely be there with a couple of Cocos set up at a table, so...
Okay, I saw the Tandy Discord. There's a few people there that are planning on attending, too, so there should be a few people there. So
there's usually a fair amount of Tandy representation.
Now, did you want to try to live stream from there, or did you want to send some pictures maybe from the opening of the show? Or
I might be able to do that. Yeah, I could probably walk around, do a live kind of show and tell of the show and tell.
Okay, cool. I seem to recall there was some pretty interesting stuff there the last time you streamed from there. So, and it was quite large for one of these little sort of user group style gatherings. It's not an official quote unquote trade show or anything, but it had pretty good attendance. Yeah. Later that same day, also next weekend, is the next Amigos hosted International Computer Club. And this talks about a variety of hardware, software, collectibles, all kinds of stuff, usually related to gaming, but not necessarily. And these happen usually a few times a year. I've been on it a few times. Nick Morenni's been on it a few times. Nick will be on it as well because he's going to be doing an update to his pinball game above and beyond the one you saw last week. Now, I'm going to try to cajole him into coming onto our show to show us first, and then he'll be on that show later on in the day to show it to some people that don't get a chance to watch every 5-hour episode of the CoCoNation. 7 hours if you're having the stream delays we were having earlier today. So should be a lot of fun. I don't really have anything to show this time. I was hoping to get some Nitrous 9 EOU stuff there, but it looks like a few projects aren't quite done yet. I know my side of things isn't done yet either, so it'll be a bit later than that. But maybe on the next one. After that is CoCoFEST, May 2nd to 3rd, with takedown on the morning of May 4th, which is the Sunday. And as it was mentioned earlier, this is actually a day earlier than it normally has been. It's Friday and Saturday is the main show rather than Saturday, Sunday. It's at the Holiday Inn and Suites in Carroll Stream in Wheaton, Illinois. Hotel rooms at the special fest rate. I think that's been extended a little bit to get the code. From what Grant had said. So, and he also said if it's too late on that, talk to Grant directly, and you can do that via the Discord.
Yeah, then the date was the 14th.
Yeah, originally I think he got it extended or something, and now he can kind of like
I thought that
sneak you in the door, I guess.
Yeah, if he said that didn't work, just call him and he'll fix it.
Yeah. He's like our bouncer with the secret code type of thing.
Exactly.
Ken sent me.
Yeah. All right, that looks like I actually took a quick look here at the show floor, and there's a whole bunch of tables filled in the main hall. And there's actually some in the outside hall, including Bob Emery right here, Coco Strangiato, and some others as well. So
unfortunately, I won't be there. So people feel free to set up a gaming system on my table.
Oh, okay.
Give people a place to relax.
Yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of people going to be there, as you can see, with all the red filled in tables here. So lots of stuff to see. And I think we were talking last week about, or was it? Yeah, I think it was during the show about Spy Hunter on the Game On Challenge. I think we're talking about it. I'm wondering if this is an update on that game at table 49. Adventures in Coco Spy Hunting, because that looked like a really good Coco 1 and 2 adaptation of Spy Hunter, which is a game we never did get translated on the Coco, so that'd be kind of cool to get. Next step after that is Retrofest 2025, which is organized by Tony Jewell, and it's a retro computer festival happening in Swindon, England, May 31st to June 1st. Some other Dragon people have already committed to being there, including Richard Harding, who's kind of the history guy behind the Dragon, and Chris Poacher, of course, is the history of Microdeal. And it's at the Steam Great Western Railway Museum, so kind of like VCF East. There's multiple things to see there. You'll have all the retro stuff to look at, but you'll also have all the Steam and train engine stuff right on site. So you can basically tour through both of them, which is really cool. And of course, it's sponsored by Pixel Attic magazine, and we actually had some of them on not too long ago when they did a special issue on Tandy, which covered some stuff, including the Coco. Next up after that is VCF Southwest. This is June 20th to the 22nd in 2025 here at the Davidson Gundai Alumni Center at the University of Texas at Dallas. And this is one of the Brenda Donahue of Coco VJ fame, and is an attendee and a display. I was going to check to see if Boise's speaking at this one or not. No, they don't have the lists on here yet, unfortunately.
He was there.
I had heard a rumor he is, but sorry?
He was there last year.
Yeah. Yeah. He did kind of the history of the Coco last year, didn't he?
Maybe.
Or was he doing the Phoenix stuff? I can't remember.
The Phoenix stuff.
Okay, maybe it was a year before he did the history of the Coco.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a fairly well attended one. I think Mark B, are you planning on going to this one this year?
Yes, I am planning.
Just as an attendee, or you can have a display?
Attendee.
Okay. So maybe we'll get a live stream from you and talk to Brendan and stuff.
Populator of the free table.
Anyway, of course, this is in the Fort Worth, Dallas area. A lot of the alumni from Tandy themselves will be there. Mark Siegel usually attends this. I think Jerry Heap was planning on going. There's a few others there from the Tandy Discord have kind of mentioned they're going to be there too. So there'll be a fair bit of Tandy representation, and there's pretty well every year because of where it's located. And it's definitely one I want to attend sometime in the future too. So next after that is the International Retrocomputer Expo, formerly Boat Fest. This will be July 11th to 13th in Hurricane, West Virginia. You can book your tickets here. And once again, all show notes are in the Coco Discord in the news section. And that has all the links to everything, including how to order tickets here from Ticket Source. They actually have a little promo video. I've played it before. Won't bother playing it today because we're going to be running a bit behind from all the technical difficulties. But it's always a fun time. It's a bit more gaming oriented, though they do have some hardware and stuff too. They also record some of their shows live, like ARG Presents and the Amigos show, possibly the Atari ST, Spectrum, and Coco shows as well. A few of us in the panel have attended. It's a great fun. It's kind of like a giant users group meeting type thing. And you get to sample things like dill pickle flavored vodka, which I'm not sure if that's a highlight or not, but that's what happened last year.
Well, if there's enough vodka, I guess.
I don't know, but the dill pickle one, I couldn't handle that. Sorry. Next after that is VCF Midwest, the largest retro show in North America and possibly the world. That is September 13th to the 14th at the Schaumburg Convention Center in Schaumburg, Illinois, the home of Rainbow Fest back in its heyday. This year is the 20th anniversary of the show, and I'm hoping they're doing some special things for that. I haven't heard anything officially announced. And there's usually a really good Coco representation of this, and they kind of all band together, so you get an entire section devoted to Coco that's all in one spot. Hopefully they're planning on doing that again. Rick, you're one of the guys that was there last year. Do you know if they are planning? Has there been any discussion between you guys as far as setting up a Coco section again, or?
Actually, nothing. Everything's so up in the air this year. We don't have anything.
Okay.
Who can make it? Who can't? Who knows?
Anyway, this would be a fun one, and this is the next one besides CoCoFEST that I do plan on attending. Okay, next one after that is, and the same weekend, is Retro World Expo, which is September 12th to the 14th at the Connecticut Convention Center in Hartford, Connecticut. You can now get the vendor application form. You can purchase tickets to attend. The Retro World Rumble registration is coming soon. That's not quite ready yet. This is kind of a retro gaming theme, so they've got arcade games and home game consoles, some home computer stuff, but then throws in stuff like wrestling and a few other things too. So it's a bit of a wider gamut to cover, I guess, a bigger palette of people. I don't think anybody on the panel here, and then maybe somebody in the chat wants to mention it, but I don't think any of us have actually attended this before. I'm kind of curious what it's like, because it does look like it's got a bit of a different vibe than most of the retro shows we cover.
Yeah, I think that the more I think about it, the more I think I'm gonna go to it, because that'll be less expensive for me than going to VCF Midwest. And not that I wouldn't enjoy going to VCF Midwest, but this is close to home and we've not seen what's going on before. And it's actually, when I looked at the vendor applications, it's not just tables. It's like you're on a CES type of floor where they've got the 10-foot by 10-foot booths. So that ought to prove to be interesting.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious myself. Like, I don't know if you'll be able to do live from there, because it looks like it's a really well attended, so I don't know what the bandwidth will be, but even sending some video clips, etc., just for us to show would be awesome.
Well, I'll give it a shot. At the worst case scenario, I'll have something recorded. So
yeah, well, worst case scenario would just be like the beginning of the show today. So, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
No offense to Mark. Oh, you know, the Windows updates screw everybody up. What can I tell you?
Right.
Next up after that is Tandy Assembly, September 26th to the 28th at the Courtyard by Marriott in Springfield, downtown, Ohio. And they've already got some exhibitors already lined up and paid. They're still taking sponsorships, or not sponsorships, but applications for doing the Tech Talks, which they usually do on Friday. That's their Tech Track thing. And as it mentions down here, you can now pre-register as an attendee. Registration is $10 per attendee for Saturday and Sunday. If you want to attend the Tandy Tech Track, the fee is $30 for all day. So I don't think you can get that one separate. I think you have to attend all 3 days to attend that. And those are really technical deep dives from what I've seen. Children 12 and under are free. All proceeds go for the cost of running the event. And buy your registration now to avoid long lines at the door. And they have been getting up to capacity here recently. So I think they're probably going to have to switch venues like so many retro shows have the last few years, because they've been growing. And they're starting to outgrow the venues they started in. Next after that is the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, which runs from October the 17th to the 19th. And that's a fair bit later than last year. Last year was in the end of September. This is at the Oregon Convention Center in Portland, Oregon. And obviously this is a much more gaming-oriented thing. And Tim and AJ actually represented their gaming channel on YouTube there a few years back. I think they are planning on attending this year, but not as an exhibitor. As you can see by the photo on the screen here, it's quite busy, and they sell everything from, you know, gaming-related T-shirts and coffee coasters to actual games and consoles and home computers. Some, you know, the electrical tabletop style electrical games like the old Donkey Kong by Coleco, etc. So a lot of stuff. If you're into gaming, this is definitely one. If you're on the West Coast, might be worthwhile attending. And the last one is the very first official VCF in Canada. This is VCF Montreal, which is January 24th to 25th, just because it's such a nice time of the year to head out in the dead of winter to Montreal. So, you know, bring your snowshoes, your ice scrapers. If, you know, you have to use a credit card, I guess you can do that to scrape your windshield. And any further things? Should they bring, like, you know, snowshoes and stuff there, Frederic, since you live in Montreal?
Well, thankfully, no, you don't need to.
I should think you're really, really thick coat.
Well, yeah, that time of year, yeah, you better get something nice and warm.
Either that or a large top and wrap it around yourself multiple times. Now, they were mentioning here, they got a few things they're starting to fill in this page here on the VCF site. So exhibits, they got just some basically information how to apply for it, etc. Now it's mentioning food, and there is an on-site dining at the RMC cafeteria. RMC stands for the Royal Military College, Saint Jean, I believe that would be pronounced. Correct me if I'm wrong there. And he says a variety of meals for under $20. I've never been there, so I don't know what that's like. From my understanding, this is a little bit outside of Montreal, though, Frederic. So
yes, it is. It's about half an hour away from Montreal.
My question though is, will there be poutine?
Of course, I'm sure.
Well, military food is either really, really good or really.
And Montreal
really bad,
smoked meat sandwiches. That's the other thing I want to see there too.
And bagels. Fairmont bagels, the best.
So is this actually in a rural area, or is it more in an urban area? Just happens to be outside of Montreal proper.
It's sort of a small town. Basically, it's not a rural area, nor is it a suburb. It's really its own little thing.
Well, if you're playing around with artillery, you don't want it downtown.
No,
Right?
don't want it downtown, no, of course.
The reason I was asking, like, if somebody wanted to go out to eat or something like that, is there opportunity for that, or is it like you're kind of isolated? Okay.
Yes. There's a lot of things to do in Saint Jean.
Okay. Anyway, there'll be more updates coming. Of course, this is quite far out. I mean, we're talking like 8-9 months in the future here, so more details as they come in. But congratulations to Frank, if he's still in the chat, because he's one of the organizers of the show, as he is of a few other retro shows. There's one in Toronto. Which actually, I need to get the dates from that, Frank, so you have to send those to me. Because they have the world of Commodore, which we'll just, frankly ignore. But they've also got the world of Retro, which is covering everything. So that's usually a bit earlier. That should be, I think, this fall. And I'm just teasing about the world of Commodore. Because, of course, the PET had a version of OS9 running it and a 609 chip in it, so that applies. And once again, if any of you have any other retro shows you know about, some of these user group meeting type style ones, or some major gaming or major retro show that I've completely missed, including especially ones overseas, because we do have viewers and listeners that live in the UK and Europe itself, the European Union, and I don't always catch those. So if you want to send me an email at curtisboyle@sasktel.net and give me the details and a page link if you can, I will start including them on here too, just so we're not just covering North American shows. Okay, so that should cover the shows. I'll go into the main news and we'll save the Game On challenge for last. Okay, you guys should be seeing Coco Town if I click the right buttons. I will mention quickly, Marc Siegel did mention he will be at the VCF in Dallas in June. So if you want to meet Marc, that's a good show to go to. Okay, first up, Coco Town returns with Game Revolution Cycle 26. This time he's covering double buffering gone wild, as he describes it, or why the moon's atmosphere refracts light. And this is Game Revolution Cycle 26. So his 26th video of his taking an old Moon Patrol game he decided to resurrect after he tried to make it as a teenager as an early programming and assembly language and just didn't have the skills up to it. So he kind of, stopped it and then recently picked it back up as an adult. And now with the vast wealth of, brain power and knowledge he's gained since then, he's been progressing pretty well on it. And he's actually starting to get into the actual media elements of the game. Now he's got the aliens flying around and shooting them and stuff. So as usual, he has great intros that are just hilarious. And I'm going to play that. So we spike up his views at the very beginning and it drops like a rock. No, I'm just kidding, afterwards. But I'll play the full intro here, which will give you kind of a hint of what the episode's about. But if you want to get the technical details and some more banter, go watch the entire episode.
The moon doesn't have an atmosphere.
Quick question. Did you guys hear that? I just want to make sure I remember to click share. Sorry.
Yes.
Oh, good.
What kind of clickbaity nonsense title is that? I hate it when vloggers do that. It's pathetic. Oh, apparently I did that. And now that I think about it, it makes perfect sense. Just keep watching and you'll find out why. Today on Game Revolutions, the series where I write a game and show you how I do it, we will revisit double buffering, and we'll explore how a series of small incremental improvements can really screw things up. leading to a bug that I've been putting off for quite a while, until now. And we'll tie up a loose end that I left at the end of the hit detection tricks video. I'll keep things at a fairly high level. I'll be using mostly pseudocode rather than assembly, but we are going to dive deep. Cue that disco chiptune.
Anyway, there's your teaser. Definitely worth the watch. I did watch it earlier this week, so I kind of know what you guys are in for watching it. But it's good, some good stuff in there. And you know, some of those weird bugs that show up and you have to hunt down. It was kind of like watching Henry on the video we'll be covering here shortly on his fourth round. Next up after that, before we get to that though, Ken of Canadian Retro Things, who just happens to be a panelist here, the guy in charge of the Game On Challenge. Kind of teased about it last week because he actually fired up his J&M disc controller. And I kind of talked to, or asked him a little bit about having the alignment discs, etc., for the diagnostics, because there was a 16K ROM that included memory minder. He has the 8K ROM, which had a disc for memory minder. But you actually dug out and went quite into detail. This video is over half an hour long, which is a bit longer than normal for you. Mm-hmm. Did you want me to play a certain clip here, or just start playing in the background and you kind of talk about what it's about?
Yeah, just start playing it, sure.
Okay, I'll mute.
You're holding your manual upside down.
Oh, that's why I was having so many problems with it.
Well, it could have been a 10-minute video without that.
Yeah. I thought it was translating a different language. No, basically, because I got a hold of this, the Dyson digital diagnostic disc, I decided to actually show it in action and do a little bit of research on it first about what it is, and then show it in action. And because basically it's such a rare disc, there's not a lot of people that are ever going to actually see it doing what it's supposed to. So there you go. So
I wanted to highlight this here, Ken, just so you can kind of talk a little bit about it, because this is kind of showing you what the capabilities of memory minder are. Now, there's a few tests like, you know, disk speed. We've already had utilities for doing that, but there's quite a bit more to this here.
Yeah, like things like the alignment sensitivity test, head alignment test. I don't know how they work exactly, but you do need this disc to do it. And it's actually quite interesting because with this video, it started quite a bit of controversy in the comments section. Because of course,
tell me more. I didn't catch that.
Okay, well, I do talk about it and how you can't copy this disc because it's written with a different type of disk drive to kind of do offset data lines and stuff, so it can be testing how out of alignment your head could be to actually read stuff. But a lot of people are just saying, oh, well, yeah, you just have to hook up like a grease weasel and you'd be able to copy it, no problem. But that's not the problem. The problem would be writing it to a new disk, because a normal disk drive wouldn't be able to do it.
It's got a wobble track like the Sony CD copy protection. Was it the PlayStation?
Yeah.
So it's got a track that's not aligned precisely, and you can't do that.
Exactly. And so, I mean, of course, before I did this, I did talk to David Ladd about it, and he said, no, you can't copy it with, I mean, you can read it. You could actually take all the data that's on it and read it with a grease weasel or something and put it onto your computer. But you need to actually have the physical disk in the drive, and you wouldn't be able to write it without that special drive that wrote these disks. So.
Yeah, because it's not just writing data. Like, it's writing at certain offsets within the disk, you know, moving a track around from where it should be type thing to make sure it's aligned properly. Like that wobble track you were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's interesting because probably about 75% of the comments say, oh, well, you're lying there. It's perfectly copyable. You just use a grease weasel or use this and use that. But that's not the... I just keep telling them that's not the problem. The problem is actually writing it. You're asking a disk drive to write something that it can't do.
Because based on the descriptions, it seems that it's almost, instead of writing in a digital fashion, it's doing a full analog write.
Well, it's writing them deliberately misaligned, mistimed, and so forth, so the software can report where you are in relation to the deliberate mistimings and misalignments that they've created on the disk. Which, yeah, I'd like to see one of them machines, Ken. I really would.
Yeah, I would love to see one of those machines, and that's actually.
And then I would like to see your disk, because here's my LADD, which has about 30 floppies that need alignment.
Yeah. I told you, Ken, you can make a mint off this, man.
Well, if I make it back to CoCoFEST, I might set up a booth for. Would you like me to do some alignment tests on your disk drives?
I'll bring
Just
a
go to the
array of data disks, and you can. Yeah.
Just go to the border. We'll set up a secret drop-off point where Rick can like drive up to the board and drop it off beside the third pine tree on the right, and then Ken will sneak in at 2 a.m. and just pluck it out and take it across and align all the discs for you.
Oh, and by the way, Ken, the word is pronounced hysteresis, and yeah, it's a function of the magnetic domains.
Yeah, I know what it is now. It's just I was not. I was not when I was shooting the video. I came across that word and I'm like, oh, I've never seen that word before. I don't.
Yeah,
Ken, did you fix your Coco 2 after it went wacky?
No, I haven't yet. I mean, it still is giving output on the RF can, but it's just not the. I think the board, the little composite board, died.
Yeah.
Oh, so it wasn't the Coco 2 then?
No, I think it's just I believe it's just the composite board.
Okay.
So I'm also.
Was that your one with the 56K upgrade and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I was going to ask: is there 2 different special discs? I thought I might have caught that maybe there was a second one you don't have.
Well, there
I misunderstand?
there is an analog alignment aid disc that you can get that you need an oscilloscope and everything to run.
So
so you don't need the program, but
yeah, I don't think you need. That's not as special of a disc.
Okay.
I was also wondering about like the coercivity or the I think it's called the coercivity of the media itself. There was a mention about it being like a higher quality or something like that. Is it just like a different coating? Is it a higher coercivity media? Do you know the answer to that question?
I don't know. All I know, the only thing I was able to find, there is very little information on the internet about this, but the only thing I could find is that it uses a special high-resolution disk drive, or high-resolution drive to print these discs. So
that would make sense, though, Henry, because you wouldn't be able to erase it with a regular hard drive. With suitable media, with the higher, it would be like trying to erase a high density with a double density drive. You just can't do it.
So that's kind of what I was wondering about. If you were to take, because I don't think, does that thing test the 1.44 megs? I don't think it does it?
No, I think it stops at the 720. I think it's only double density, not quad.
So if you were to take a 1.44 meg 5 1/4, a 5 1/4 inch disc and a 1.44 meg drive, and rejigger the electronics on the stepper for the head so that you micro step that head, would you be able to effectively duplicate this disc using that kind of electronic jiggery pokery?
You might as well try heat transfer printing one disc to another, which does work. It's theoretically a thing you can do, but oh my gosh, it's hard. But I think it would be better than trying to make a stepper motor not step.
Oh, no. I'm not talking about making a stepper motor not step. I'm talking about making a stepper motor step more finely than it's initially designed.
Well, right, but how fine does it have to be? Looking at the...
And that's...
Yeah, because all you're going to get on a high... Yeah, all you're going to get in a high density is just twice the tracks.
A little
So you're just going to get the in-between spaces.
Right, you get the in-between spaces, but if you can make that head move ever so slightly tinily and like very finely,
like a half track width or a quarter track width or something.
Exactly.
So in other words, you're basically just saying rebuild the original type of disk or drive that printed these.
Right,
we can rebuild it. Like we can make it.
Well, I mean, if you could rebuild one of those drives, then you could print these discs no problem. It's just
and that's what I'm wondering about. Is it like since it stops at the, because I think it stops at the quad density, like what the 2000 used, if I recall correctly. I'm wondering if the high density drive has the media capabilities to have the proper media for it, and then you can take one of the high density drives and build it out differently so that you can get that micro stepping.
Well, you would get different, because Dyson had different discs for the different density drives.
Right.
So, I mean, yes, you could take a high density drive, which is 96 tracks per inch, and if you basically would be double stepping it. The stepper motor would still move one track, one step, but on a 48 track per inch disc, that's half a step.
Right.
So, which is why like OS9 double steps the drives when you mix media types.
Yeah. And no, I understand this entirely. I'm just kind of thinking about how you could like hack away and possibly not duplicate it as in like, oh, I can easily do this with Grease Weasel and whatnot, but like get a very fine record of the flux transitions on the disk, reverse engineer how fine of the flux transitions how fine the movement of the head has to be versus how coarse the head has to be.
Yeah.
Is this effectively a 40 track head moving at 196 tracks per inch, for instance, or 192 tracks per inch?
So you'd have to have a finer stepper, but
right.
So the question is, do you need a finer head?
Correct. And do I need a finer head, or do I just need a finer stepper? And do I need to?
Because the head is still going to write on the same width of 96 tracks per inch, but do we need something finer, which means we're going to need a thinner, a thinner head.
Well, not necessarily. It's tracking position by relative signal strength.
Yeah,
so when you fall under the head, you have more strength than when you're off to one
side. Right,
side.
and that becomes my question: are they writing with? Yeah, are they writing with this? Are they writing with effectively a standard 40 track head width when you're looking at a 48 TPI disc, or are they writing with a 96 TPI head or a 192 TPI head? What size of head are they using in order to get that image on there?
Well, also the normal electronics only has on or off. You don't have different levels of strength.
Okay, and that can make a difference too, because if you're driving it with, but you could rip out the guts of that and drive it with an analog signal, no problem. It'd just take some reverse engineering.
So in the chat right now, Franklin Harris is saying that you do need a smaller head, and manipulating the stepper is easy. It's the head is the issue, so you'd need a much smaller head than.
All right, so we'd need something along the lines of 192 TPI head. Is what it boils
or
down
higher,
to.
Depending. I don't know.
Right. It's like theoretically you could scan a CD just sitting on a scanner and get a print of that, but you're going to need a damn good scanner.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, if you wanted to rebuild what they made these discs with, then yeah, you could copy it. But I'm just saying that there's not really anything.
It won't be just
there.
with a Grease Weasel.
Yeah, it's not something that you can just plug into a drive and say, okay, copy that.
No. But I'm looking at this more along the lines of like you've seen how my videos tend to brain dive in weird directions.
Mm-hmm.
this is a brain dive in a weird
direction. It's
direction.
going to be the rabbit hole with the 3 stars.
So you're going to have you're going to have an easier time finding Apollo hardware than you are going to find one of these Dyson machines.
Actually, interesting enough, if you want, at the beginning of the video, there was a company that was making these discs right up to 2012.
Right. Yeah, I remember. I remember you mentioning that. And so the trick.
And
is
I would love to find out if the people that had that company might still have those drives somewhere.
Yeah, that's going to be the fun part to try and pick up. And the question is again, like Frank is talking about.
That actually, you go forward there, Curtis, a bit.
Yeah.
Sure, it was for the Atari. So yeah, I couldn't find any that were for the. Yeah, it's stuff. So this is the internet. This is their website that this company closed down in 2012. Accurate Technologies Incorporated. So as you can see, they're selling right up to the 8-inch drive, 8-inch discs right up at up till the.
Oh, we have apparently managed to summon David Ladd.
3.5 inch. Well, I knew that was going to happen. And also 8-inch, single density, double density.
Yeah, Frank's actually saying in the chat too. He says if they're made the same way the old Commodore alignment discs were made, there's a special head is required.
Bottom here,
right, which is considering this is for a 48 TPI disc, 48 TPI drive. I'm wondering if a 96 TPI head would be fine enough, or if you do need to go finer. And if you can drive it analog instead of driving it digital, would that be enough? So that's my big question.
So actually, I found right here the listing of the people that actually used to run the company. So I was thinking I should try and get a hold.
We can hound them.
We can hound them to see if
maybe get the technical details, because I mean there's quad density discs too, right? That's the 192s you're talking about.
No, I think the quad densities are different. Those are the 720K.
Yeah, they're 96. They're 96 tracks per inch, but just the same.
So what were the
rotational
2.88
speed.
meg discs then? The one that are 4 meg unformatted.
Good point.
Or the Alice 120s if you want to go really nuts.
We might have found our solution.
So the thing is, we
So
might.
Frank says the raw flux would be able to tell you what type of head you'd require.
Okay, so we just grab the raw flux and okay.
So we still need a grease weasel
to start this journey.
I say let him die.
Well, we may be in the vinyl dip where records weren't popular, and now all of a sudden.
Brian Walsh, we've already summoned David Ladd. Thank you very much, and we didn't.
And
I think,
also, David Lord says that he has a Dyson vacuum cleaner. If that would be any help.
I don't know.
I think I have one also.
But that's Dyson, not Dyson, and there's a one-letter difference. That one letter is quite significant, and not just because it's a different vowel. Let's see.
I do like the warning they give you on this disc, though, the digital diagnostic diskette. It says, caution, do not record on this diskette.
Yep.
Yep, don't format it.
Oops.
and notice that the disc is designed with no write tab.
No notches.
Nope.
Yep.
I think
it's permanently write protected.
At least for
I can fix that with a hole punch.
Now back to my original question, Ken. Was there also an analog disc or something like we were talking about?
Well, there is in the, if you look in the program, there is a section where it says if you have the analog disc and a oscilloscope, then you can use the tests that are in that section.
So that must be the cat's eye.
Yeah, that would be the cat's eye.
That's where you get right down on the head driver chips and.
So that kind of drives into another question that I had. Why in the world would the second track have a different index timing issue than track 1 have a different timing issue than track 2? Or I'm sorry,
that's a good question. I
head
have no idea.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense to me because it should be using the same. It should be using the exact same.
I mean, you're on double rails side by side. If there's a little bit of slop in those rails, maybe the top head and the bottom head aren't staying completely aligned.
Well, but the top head. Oh, you're looking at the head versus the index. Okay, gotcha. That makes sense now. Because if one of the head is laterally off a little bit, then it'll have an index timing issue. Now that makes sense. Thank you.
By the way, David Ladd just said a 2.44 in extra high density 5 1/4 driver, the same head thickness as a quad density or high density 5 1/4.
Okay, so it's, which I said interesting to that, which means that it's going to be an issue not so much of it shouldn't be an issue so much of head size. It should be an issue of drive current or whatnot.
David, you should come on and tell us. No.
Anyways, if you want to have fun arguing, with people about this, then the comment section of this video is a good place to go.
45. That's quite a few for you.
Yeah.
There is a second component to this, though, guys.
What's that?
Well,
you have the remainder of the discs.
Well, no. If my camera's working or not here. You guys
I'll stop sharing so you can show whatever you're about to show here. You want to zoom up there, Mark?
Yeah, as soon as I get there.
So
okay, there he is.
This is the same disc as what Ken has. It's in here. It's the same digital diagnostic disc.
Of course you have one.
That's the same one there. But then there's also this. There's also a test gear that you can use too. That goes with it. There's this meter that you can hook up to it, and you can use this thing here to.
That'd be instead of using a PC to drive it.
Right.
Right, or a scope. Yeah.
Right. Let's see if this opens up or not. But.
Oh, and he's got the equipment.
Of course he does.
Nice.
So you hook your ribbon cable up to this, and then on the display here, it gives you the
The readouts.
Gives you the readouts and everything that you can use with it. So yeah.
Is that battery operated or does it plug in, or do you have to have a?
Looks like that thing will do both 5-inch and 8-inch.
Possibly, yeah.
Oh, it has
with
power.
the connector there. So yeah.
Power adapter. Both connectors.
Yeah. Now, what I don't have I don't have that the memory minder disc.
You can get that on the archive.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Plus, I think, Brian, you do have the 16K ROM, which has the memory minder software built into the ROM too, don't you?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think.
So you hit the brake key twice when you're going into JDOS, and it should bring up the memory minder program or option to start it.
Yeah, I think I remember that. Yeah, I ran that once before. But yeah, that was.
I think at Shack all we used was the analog disc.
Okay.
Everything else we just did with a standard floppy with the software that Tandy supplied.
Yeah, because as you were talking there, I was like, that disc looks familiar there. I was looking to see how close the serial numbers we were, but we weren't even close. That would have been funny if the serial number would have been close, but yeah. Yeah, very
it's
cool.
An interesting little disc anyway, like being able to simplify, being able to work on a drive and do all the alignments and everything.
Yeah, you did a great video. Good video.
Because
good job.
It's also really good in the instruction book that goes with it is that it actually has a fairly detailed way of if this is out, then this is how you adjust it.
Right.
Of course, there
yeah,
are
and you had a few things we're out about a bit. So are you planning a follow-up video to actually show that running?
Maybe.
So
trying to give you some free advertising here.
Has anybody done a flux image? Has anybody done a flux image of the DDD?
The DVD.
The CD?
The
Dyson
digital
diagnostic disc. Yeah. Has anybody done a flux image of that yet?
There, you can see a pile of drives behind me right there that I've been testing.
You can unhighlight me, Mark, if you want.
Yeah, I have to highlight Ken because they probably can't see it out in
David Ladd probably
viewership line.
There you go. We've got drive.
Right, but I'm wondering if anybody's done a flux image of the disk itself.
That's something actually. If Brian, you're going to CoCoFEST this year, right?
The plan is yes. Unless
so you could you could take your disc with you, and David Ladd could flux image it with his grease weasel.
Oh yeah, because is he probably going to bring that PC that he has set up? Right, it's
he usually does.
It's in a PC case, I should say. Yeah, that somebody put together for him. Was that Paul Piscarelli? I think did that for him. So.
Yeah, because what I'm reading in there is like if we get the flux image, it'll help us find out what kind of head we require to be able to reproduce it.
Oh, an earlier comment in the chat here said David Lord says not all drives use index hole, and that's absolutely true. If I remember correctly, and Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Apple II drive is one that does not.
I believe the Apple and the Commodore don't use index holes.
Apple, you don't need an index hole with Apple.
But
that's why you could do those weird, copy protection schemes that you couldn't do on some other drives. Sorry, go ahead, Ken.
I was just going to say, but you do on the Tandy. So
David Ladd is bringing his grease weasel, his setup. So
there you go. So Brian, you can bring that disc and make David a very happy person.
Yes.
And Ken and I don't even have to witness that. That's awesome.
And here's the scary thing. I'm starting to rabbit hole in this direction.
All right, so I want
is that
by the end of
two-sided?
Yeah, it's gonna be.
Yeah, it is. Because I was testing a two-sided drive, so.
Okay. Yeah, because you actually had one of the things that failed on one of your tests there actually was on one head but not the other, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So I want this disc to be copyable or being able to make new discs of this by the end of the summer, people.
I don't know about the end of the summer. The way my project list is, if it's just me, it's going to take about a couple of years.
Inhibit bulky race when you do
it. Chris Gura says when his LED broke, he would just hold the TV remote over the index hole when he was formatting his discs.
It works today.
Hey, if it works.
Oh, some Commodore drives do have the index hole, like the 1571.
Yeah, and that was a standard that all the IBM PCs use, which of course, you know.
Did refrigerator magnets do any good?
Yes, I keep my discs on the refrigerator with magnets all the time.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact,
I have an
if you
actual
look
Radio Shack one.
if you look behind me, the digital diagnostic disc is stuck to this fridge behind me with a magnet.
Oh, there you go. David Ladd ought to find that interesting.
Yeah, I have large industrial magnets. I actually hold hard drives, the entire case and everything up on the fridge with that. So. Okay, so yeah, definitely go check out Ken's video. Kind of goes through the memory minder software. Obviously, there's more stuff to come, and if it's possible to maybe duplicate some of these discs and get the special hardware equipment put together to actually make these again, because the company's long out of service type thing, and you can't get them anymore. Now, I was going to ask, do any of you guys know how many other platforms that was sold for?
Many.
And did they make ones for non-index hole versions too, or?
Well, I don't know if would it matter if there was an index hole on it and you put it in a non-index hole drive. It just wouldn't be testing that.
Right, pretty much.
Because I used to use discs with index holes in my Apple II all the time. So
Yeah, they just don't have a sensor there.
yeah.
You know the
So it's just a test that computer wouldn't run.
the MC10 software them, that came in the white box. In there was also a refrigerator magnet with them on it, which I have on my refrigerator, which I thought at first, why would they do that? And then I thought, oh no, it's separate and it's in a SD card, the software. So
David Ladd, the chat says you are all killing me.
are magnets fed with SD cards?
And shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be, no.
Yeah, shouldn't be. No, the one thing, like David Ladd talks about magnets and floppies. The one thing that kills me is when I see retro tubers, and they go like slapping their unsleeved floppy disks onto the table. I'm like, no, do not do that.
Right. Magnets are not that bad, but grit is horrible.
Yes.
And you're not supposed to put your floppies on top of your monitor?
No, not if it's an old CRT one.
Yeah.
So like the Radio Shack bulk tape eraser, you were talking about coercivity or whatever, it will erase a regular videotape, but it won't erase a high definition digital videotape. Even though it's still a magnetic tape, it's more like HD disc, and regular bulk tape eraser won't erase it. You can let that thing put the tape back in, it plays just fine. So
yeah, you need a higher flux level for it, because coercivity's different on those tapes.
Right.
Anyways, I do have to. Sorry, I was just going to say, if we ever do come up with a way to copy these discs, I think that would be a great follow-up video for this one that I did here this week.
I don't know so much about copy as in like just manufacture.
Well, just recreate.
Yeah.
Whatever it means, yes.
Well, I mean, it's technically copying, because you're going to have to use an original disc to get the image and then put it onto a new disc.
Yeah.
Or find that machine with its special program that makes the wobble tracks and stuff all by itself, which good luck with all of that. But somebody's got one. I'm sure somebody's got one.
Yeah, I mean, if we've been able to find stuff like Motorola exercisers, we should be able to find one of those machines kicking around somewhere. Maybe in a museum or something. And does anybody know, did they ever make versions of that for high density, extra high density, et cetera, discs too, or did they kind of stop after 720K discs?
I've seen the high density ones, I think.
Yeah, didn't your website list the high density 3.5 skin?
That website? Just a second.
I thought they had those.
By the way, Rick, you're coming in really quiet. I don't know if you stepped away from the mic or not. But...
Oh, my mic's decided to fall asleep again, I guess.
Where did I find that?
Oh, wait, Frank says in the chat here, so I'd be interested to see the flux data. I've been able to duplicate a Commodore 64 one. If these are built similarly, I might be able to pull it off as well.
Oh, nice to know.
Now next week, you'll be cruising on Google and you'll see a couple of ads for Dyson discs, 10 for $5.
Right, they'll be fake, but just
Well, I will be making a trip to Toronto sometime this year, Frank. So I could possibly bring that with me.
So Accurite did make a 5.25 inch, 1.2 megabyte disc. I'm looking at your video right now, Ken.
Yeah.
And they charged $65 for it.
Well, look at the 8-inch ones. They're $150.
yeah, but that's a Crememco.
And that was in 2012.
So it looks like we generated much discussion about Ken's video here as he did in his comment section. That's good.
Right.
So yeah,
and we
if
even
you go
summoned
watch
David
it-
Ladd. So
If you go watch it, remember to comment.
Well, couldn't AI make us one?
It'll be broken, but yeah, I can make one.
It'll have 5 thumbs.
Yes.
Yeah.
And 1 finger, exactly.
and a
Isn't
cassette
anybody-
mixed into the disc somewhere.
Yes, exactly.
Think about able to have control of the disk drive. That'd
One
be
finger's
fun.
all we need.
1.21 gigawatts.
So Frank's saying follow up with him, Ken.
Yeah, I will. I definitely will. Well, I'm definitely planning on the show in December to being there. I might be there earlier than that too. So
That's not the VCF one, but the World of Retro you're talking about?
the World of Commodore or whatever it is, or the one that they do.
Well, there's two.
around the
There's World of
beginning-
Commodore and World of
Yeah,
Retro.
the one that they do around the beginning of December.
One other thing on the Dyson stuff. Didn't Dyson make just floppy disks you could buy?
Yep.
Yep.
Or the
Because we
huge
ne-
supplier.
I have
of
some.
floppy disks.
Right, because I
got
was
tons of them.
thinking, I'm thinking I have one of those protected ones, but I'm also thinking I have some that are labeled Dyson but aren't necessarily, it has the same logo.
I'm just checking to see if I have any handy here because I got some discs beside me, but it looks like they're all like 3Ms and Omnis and Radio Shack and BSF and
I've definitely got some Dysons. I just don't know
just
exactly
don't
where
have
they
them.
are now.
I don't have them handy.
I always thought the elephant discs were cool looking. Remember them?
Well,
Yep.
the Dysons
Yep.
had the
They had full
silver
page
label
ads.
too, so they were cool.
Elephants never forget.
And Frank is
No.
also saying that the Cairo Flux would work better for this than a Grease Weasel to read that disc.
Yeah, that's kind of a competitor to the Grease Weasel, right?
As
Or is it
far
different?
as I know those products, I don't really. I'm not. I'd leave that up to David Ladd.
See, David, you should just come on the darn show and straighten us all out on this disc stuff.
I don't have a grease weasel, but I have the WD-240 can.
I have a greased weasel.
Oh,
Okay,
geez,
on to the next
catch
story.
it.
Really? Perfect.
Okay, so next one up is a Rich L on the Coco Discord. I can't remember his last name. Sorry, my apologies. But he shared a neat trick for converting BCD, binary coded decimal, to ASCII based on the Lance Leventhal 69 assembly book, which a lot of us have, including myself. And Lance himself cited a article from February 1977 issue of Computer Magazine written by Dennis R. Allison that did the same thing on the 8080 Intel 8-bit chip that preceded the 8088 that PC was based on, including a deep dive into how the algorithm actually works. There's some tricks here with you adding 90 and add with carries with 40, etc. And there was some discussion with William Astle and a few others on the Discord that was kind of go through this too. But it's kind of a neat trick if you have to do conversion with BCD. That's not obvious unless you really, really like think about it type thing, but it actually makes it less code and faster to do the converts. So he goes into a very deep discussion and blog post on how that all works there. So you want to check it out, you can check it out on his GitHub. And once, as usual, you can find all the show notes in the Coco Discord, including links to all of the things we cover in the news here. So that'll include this particular article as well. Next one up is a bit of a sad one. This is pointed to me actually by several people. The last Radio Shack store in Maryland is closing its doors. Now, I'm quite sure by this time there's probably not much of the Radio Shack stuff sold there that we're remembering. But I could be wrong. I've never been to the Maryland store, obviously.
They've still got the parts drawers on the left wall.
Oh yeah, they do too. It's closing at the end of April after more than 40 years in business. Now, there was a company, was it in Brazil, that had bought out the rights to Radio Shack and kind of got online? We're getting, Jeff, we're getting some background noise from you again. But I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, but
they were planning on actually making some stores again. So are they kind of dropping that, just doing the online stuff, or?
That's what
I was kind of hoping they might take over some of these stores.
It's mostly just an online store of cheap crap.
Yeah.
Generic cheap crap with a Radio Shack logo thrown on it.
Oh, okay, because we're talking like we're going to try to bring back some of the old, electronics products, like not everything, obviously, that would have happened in the old days. But
Like
I was
them
really kind of hoping they would actually steer it in the right direction. Doesn't sound like they are.
Like a bunch of them Coco keyboards in the bag.
No, just common electronic stuff that's just still useful today, type thing. But
yeah, hobby stuff and things like that instead of just Best Buy again.
Maker stuff.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's what Radio Shack should have done. They should have done, Maker Fair stuff and actually have a little, like, how to use 3D printers and, have a little classes at night. They probably could have done pretty good, stuck with the hobbyist market. But
yes, so Raspberry Pis.
Yeah.
Little confection corner.
They did Androids for a number of years.
Did the one in Keller, Texas close then? Remember we did a special on them.
Oh, right,
at
yeah.
one point.
I have no idea.
Now watch, everybody will rush to the store and then he'll make money and say, well, maybe we're going to close next month.
I know somebody else posted a list, a map that actually showed all the remaining Radio Shack stores that are, the independent
dealers?
ones.
Yeah.
There's a few in Alaska I saw too, which is kind of surprising. There's 3 or 4 still left up there. And Frankie's saying they did have a lot of maker stuff towards the end. So maybe they did try, that just wasn't enough of a market for it. But yeah, once they just became like a cell phone reseller, I quit going entirely.
Well, right. Every time you went to the Radio Shack store, they had the 2 customers had 18 people around them buying the cell phone 8 family plan with multiple lines, and you weren't going to get anything for the next half hour, so you just turn around and leave.
Yeah, because here in Canada they sold out to what was the company? They called the renamed the chain The Source, but it was another company that owned it.
Intertan?
No, I don't think it was Intertan. Wasn't it Computer Circuit City or something like? I can't remember now. You remember, Ken? Or Frederic?
No.
The other Ron says he went to a Radio Shack recently. It's probably where he's got his wing nut from.
Yeah, there's definitely a few around. I think there's, dozens left in the States still at this point, but I really have no idea what they're selling these days. Anyway, this is kind of like the end of an era keeps going on, and it just gets more depressing because, none of the feel of the original hobbyist.
Don't you know that if any of us went by a Radio Shack or saw one, we'd go in.
Yeah. Well, the very first Rainbow Fest, I went across Woodfield Mall and went straight to the Radio Shack there. Then I found out all their employees were at the Rainbow Fest because they actually had a booth. In fact, they were selling off Cocos and CM8s for dirt cheap, $100 off and stuff there. It was pretty cool. But they emptied a lot of inventory.
Oh, they didn't want to carry them back.
Yeah,
Right.
There's a street there, yeah. Okay, next up after that, making 4th compile new words. This is a longer video from Henry.
Yeah.
Now, was this something you had kind of been working on from even before VCF and stuff, and that's why it's so long, or is it just you?
It's longer because I spent more time like getting my brain space into the video, like my thought processes and things, because I didn't want to go and skim over some of these things that I was thinking. Just like where I was running into bugs, where I was running into problems with how things were working, figuring out how things were working. It ran long because, like, for some of the videos that I've done before, if I had done similarly to what I've done with this one, they would have also been in this time range. I didn't think it would take so long. It was dealing with the issues that I had creating the find word, I think, that really ate up a lot of time. And it doesn't surprise me because I made the mistake of Mr. Assel was saying, Lost Wizard was saying, yeah, I let VDG ski escape outside the screen domain.
Yeah. I've never heard it called VDG ski, kind of like pet ski type thing, but it actually is appropriate.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're talking, it almost matches.
Also, Franklin Harris mentions that Bell Canada is the one that owned the source in Canada. So that's the company that took over the Radio Shack chains and rebranded them all, and it became basically a kind of a generic cell phone, etc. store.
Yeah, so
by the end of this video, I'm not going to spoil everything and all the details of how you got everything working here, but you actually have it so you can actually compile new words in Forth. Now, for those who've never used Forth, that is something fairly unique to it, that you can create commands based on other commands and kind of add to the language as you're going when you're writing a program.
Yeah, and that's literally like the way that Forth works. It's not so much that you're writing a program in Forth, it's that you are adding words to the dictionary in Forth. Like you're expanding the language when you write a Forth program.
Yeah, and anything you've written then you can use in a different project later on and actually have those pre-compiled new keywords that do combination functions, etc.
Yep.
Which makes it a lot easier, to maintain code later on and to write programs much faster.
Does any of that go back to where you get the compiler or whatever, so everybody can share in the new words?
So the trick is that like the compiler's built into like that whole process of compile is built into the language itself. It's part of the core specification of the language to go into compile mode and to actually compile to the word. There are a few other things that there are a few words that actually change into compile state, do compile type of things. But if I were to take just a source code listing, which is going to be interesting to try and figure out how to get a source code listing out of this, because once you compile a word, the source code is gone. There is no source code. You have to decompile or disassemble to find out what the source code actually was. So along with the compiler, at some point in this project, I'm probably going to be writing a decompiler, which is going to be fun. But from what I can manage to put together so far, actually saving a Forth program, you'll want to either A, save the source code, B, save the compiled words, or C, both.
Now, since your Forth is planning to be ROM based, are you planning on supporting like disk then, or cassette, or both? Or
that's going to happen because this is not just a ROM based Forth. This is a replacement operating system for the color computer. That's
okay.
That's how this project started. The wild hair of can I boot this using another language? Okay, so I've booted it. I've got a different language as my operating system, and so now instead of the operating system being BASIC, the operating system is Forth. I will be doing like disk interface routines, for instance, or cassette interface routines. I think cassette interface routines is going to be the first thing that winds up happening because disk interface may be a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, because you got to worry about directories and whether a file's been killed or not and a whole bunch of other things.
Right, exactly. And so that level, I might be able to leverage the entry points in the disk controller ROM itself to make that happen. We'll figure it out.
Okay, cool.
So instead of creating libraries, you write words.
Correct.
And then you use your words in place of libraries that you might load.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, basically you're kind of creating your own library, but at a single command at a time level rather than a chunk of, string functions in one big chunk.
So how do you use the new words for another program that you're going to compile?
The same way you'd use the words that are already in the core. So like if I compile the word, if I create a new word and call it, say, fordup, digit 4 letters DUP, and it duplicates the top 4 items on the stack in one chunk, then all I'd have to do is in another program, I'd call fordup.
But nobody else will have that. Right?
Unless they get it onto, unless they load it into their own instance. No, they won't have
from
it.
you.
Right. Well, they could get it from me. They could get it online, whatever. It's going to be very similar to exchanging programs in other fashions.
Well,
It's
I guess what I was first asking was, with these new words, they're never going to be added to the fourth source that you get from them to start off with.
No, the core functionality as described in the standard is what I'm going for implementing. Like chapter 6 of the fourth standard.org is what I'm looking at getting implemented relatively fully within this ROM set, as well as some basic communication and graphics things that'll be specific to the color computer. So at that point, any new words that I compile in like on the computer itself, if I type in a new fourth program, create a new word within the fourth operating system, that would have to be distributed either by cassette or by source code or something like that. It would have to be taken out of the computer that I'm on and put into the computer that somebody else is on, just like you would any other program.
Because if you pulled everything back into the main language, you'd end up with Windows.
Yeah.
You know, it would be too big to use. So yeah, you only get the words you need for the thing you're doing.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I think, aside from speed and some other things too, like compatibility across platforms, is why C on say the Coco under 09 was more popular than Basic 09, because you had libraries for different chunks of functions. So if your program didn't need certain types of functions, like say graphics, then you didn't include that. So your program could be a bit smaller. Whereas in Basic 09, Run B is this big 12K monolithic thing with the entire library, and every program needed that. And if you wrote a little hello world that only really needed like, screen output and a little bit of string handling, you had to bring in all the logarithmic stuff too, because it's all part of Run B.
Yeah. And so like in this particular instance, let's say that I want to not worry about floating point stuff. I only want to deal with integers, and that's going to be in this ROM. Well, I could probably fit everything that I need to be able to have a fully functional fourth implementation, including compile mode and all the stuff that I want as far as graphics are concerned, within an 8K ROM. I probably can do that. And then the other 8K space could possibly be for, say, if this were back in the 80s, for instance, here's your 8K that you stick in ROM slot 1 for your core words and your core capabilities. And then, I want to do floating point magic. Okay, that can go into ROM slot 2. Or load in via disk and put it in RAM or what have you. And all it does is it just adds words to the dictionary.
I was kind of thinking in the first place that this was an operating system online, and that you would take as much as you needed. If you were online, I guess the computer would have to handle. Being online also, which would do too much more.
Yeah, this is not designed to be an online operating system. This is designed to be an operating system
just
at this stage of the game that's more akin to what you'd get back in the 80s.
Okay.
Yeah, like literally if you have socketed ROMs in your Coco, you could literally swap out Henry's ROMs and voila, you got a fourth machine.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, go check out the video. It's an hour and a half, so it's quite long, but a lot of details, a lot of figuring out VGG ski, which I'm definitely gonna have to remember that word. That's a cool one. Never heard that before.
So Henry's making the Coco Ace.
Yeah, instead of the Jupiter Ace.
Sure, why not?
Okay, next up, we've got Erico Montero. Has been using UG Basic quite a bit. We mentioned last week he got some entries into the 10-line basic programming contest using it. Microgames Basic. And in this case, he's trying to use the visual style of Tuts 2 by Marc Data Products. You can see a screenshot on the left, how those graphics are set up. And he's kind of fiddling around with doing an isometric view a la the Chaos engine and see what that would look like with the aesthetics of the Marc Data one. So Marc Data, that's probably pretty small to see. But basically the white background instead of the black you traditionally see in arcade games. But then he's got his character here as kind of the isometric 3D view, kind of like a Zaxxon viewpoint. So you kind of get a sort of a 3D-ish look with a 2D-ish background combined. And he did this just as a test to see what that kind of aesthetic would look like. I don't think it looks too bad. I mean, I don't think these would be the final versions of his walls and stuff. These are kind of quickly hacked together just to see what it would look like. But I don't think it looks too bad. What do you guys think?
Yeah, all right.
Like the character, I think that looks quite good. But like it's kind of like some of the Dragon games like Airball Night Lore that Neil was selling for a bit there, the port of that. It's kind of that pseudo 3D at a 45-degree angle type thing, except in those cases, the actual rooms and stuff you're in are also set up that way. Next to that, TRS-80 Retro Programming has been busy with work for a while, so I haven't seen anything from him in a while. He's been learning how to use the disk basic stuff on the Coco, because he never had a disk drive when he was young, and he's finally started using one the emulator just the last 6 months or so, as he's kind of learning disk basic from scratch. So this video that he put up here is basically a combination of showing some of the changes he's done to his Tales of Suburbia, which he's going to make pretty well disk based, I should say. Because doing it with cassette, we had to keep swapping cassette images to get to the next level of 5 rooms or whatever. It's just going to be too much of a pain. And he also added a mapping feature, which is what kind of the screenshot I'm showing here. So the Suburbia Center, which is level 1, has 4 rooms that show what position your character's at it. And then if you move between levels and stuff, it'll show like this is Billy's house, which has a lot more room places you can get into, and it'll actually show your character there. So you'll kind of know where you are. And he also wrote a quick little utility, because like I said, he's learning disk basic on how to read data files and display them on the screen. And he ran into a few things like, out of string space, so I had to kind of help him with how the clear command worked and stuff. But looks like he's got it all up and running. You can kind of dump the things out and see where a save game state and what it's showing for everything. This is something that if you're used to OS 9 or Linux or even DOS, there's dump commands and stuff. You can easily look at what's in a file, whether it's binary or ASCII. But disk basic, there's nothing like that unless you have a little third-party app on disk that you could use, or you write your own, which is what he did. But I think it was a good learning experience for him to figure out how file input and output on disk basic works. And you can do stuff like save game states. If you have a large program, you can save variables dumped to a file, run the second program, and then load those variables back in. Of course, it would have been much easier in the Deluxe Color computer, which actually had the chain command and the commands that actually pass the variables directly in RAM, so you didn't have to save or load anything to disk, just run the next program. But alas, we did not get that machine unless you've got MAME. Now you can actually fiddle around with the Deluxe. Next after that, Retro Dudes 1978 did a little quick video about the Coco 3, kind of a little bit of a history about it, etc. And he's got one in his possession, which is kind of what he's showing off in this little YouTube short. It's a bit AI generated, so it's pronouncing things not the way most of us would say. Like, when it's talking about a 6809 CPU, it calls it the 6809, which I've never heard anybody call that. Who knows anything about the chip? And a few other little things like that. But it's basically just a little quick video showing that he's got his Coco 3. He opens a box and shows it to you, and kind of explains a little bit of the background about the Coco, which is cool. Glad he got one, though, because Coco 3s are getting rare and expensive. Next up, Adrian's Digital Basement. I don't normally have him on our show too often, because it's not too often he covers Coco stuff. But he has an MC10, and he actually got in his mailbag, which is what this entire episode is covering, a bunch of stuff. He got his mailbag for 45 minutes, including some Soviet stuff and a few other things. But the first thing up is actually a 16K RAM upgrade for the MC10, and he hints that there's going to be a future video kind of showing it. He doesn't know if it works properly yet or not, so he's going to check to see that, if he might have a hardware repair video if it has some problems. Though from the sounds of it, the person that sent it to him tested it. And I'll just play a little bit so you can kind of get a teaser for an upcoming MC10 video, because he hasn't done one yet. He's had the MC10, but with 4K, there's not a hell of a lot you can do with it. So now he's got the official Radio Shack 16K RAM expansion pack.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Adrian's Digital Basement 2.
Yeah, Paul Shoemaker, wasn't it?
Or
Shoemaker,
right
okay.
To it. This comes from Paul in, it's really hard to read because of the label. It's a UPS label. It's not looking good. Somewhere in Texas. Hi to all my Texas viewers. I think I know what this is, but we got a note. And inside, yep, this is exactly what I thought it was. This is a memory expansion module for the Tandy MC10. The note reads, "Thanks again for all your great content you shared with us over the years. I enjoy watching both your channels, and I've learned quite a few things along the way. As we discussed over email recently, enclosed you'll find a 16K RAM expander module for the TRS-80, sorry, I call it a Tandy, TRS-80 MC10 micro color computer. I plugged it into one of my MC10s, and it properly shows the increased memory when a print mem command is issued. So I suppose it works fine. but I have not done any rigorous testing. I look forward to a future video that hopefully showcases the MC10 a bit more. Although it was a short-lived and ill-timed release by Tammy, the MC10 has some surprising capabilities under the hood. It's a fun little computer. P.S. This note was typed on a Tandy Color Computer 3 and was printed on a Tandy DWP 510 Daisy Wheel printer that is so loud it scares the dog. Well, awesome. Thank you very much, Paul, for that. This is my Tandy MC10, the micro color computer.
I'll let you guys watch the rest on his channel, but basically he goes and kind of just shows the two pieces together, shows them how they plug in. He mentions then that he's planning on doing an MC10 dedicated video coming up on it, probably his main channel. This is on Adrian's Digital Basement 2. He's got a secondary channel where he does like the mail call stuff and a few other things. So look forward to that in the future. And speaking of Jim Gary, we've actually got a new program for the MC10 that he's converted over that's not a game. It's called Anagram Cracker, originally written by Bob Chappell for Microcomputer Printout magazine from the May 1982 issue. Bob, in the remarks, I guess he completed the program for the magazine February 21st of 1982, so pretty early on. And it's a utility for solving anagrams that also has some intelligence features. There's not a heck of a lot to show on this. So the anagram you want to solve, so an anagram is basically you just mix up the letters of a word and see what other words you can come up with, or maybe multiple words that, kind of chain together. So he typed in Ragaman, which is actually an anagram of anagram. And it says there are 5,040 combinations. Do you know the position of any of the letters? And then you you basically would type in something somebody gave you as an anagram. And then if you've kind of figured out like the first letter's got to be a T or something, you can definitely narrow down the number of combinations it has to go through. And then it starts, giving a report on screen of what all the different mixes of these things are, to see if you can figure out some of the words here. So we can find. Yeah, like here it's got, the first letter's got to be an A, the third's got to be an A, or third's got to be an A, and the sixth's got to be an A, and then it kind of does the mixed letter combinations there. So it greatly narrows it down so it doesn't take us so long to run. But then it'll start showing you all the different combinations that, based on the specifics that you gave on any fixed letters or not. And you can use this to kind of help solve the anagram without you having to do it on pencil and paper. So kind of an interesting way to do it. Kind of used for making kind of just word-based games with anagrams, or sometimes you're trying to send secret messages to use that type of thing. So that would have been fun as a kid back in 82, I think. Next up after that, John Whitworth of Dragon Plus Electronics mentions, regrettably, for the immediate time, I have had to restrict sales on everything from DragonPlusElectronics.com to non-European Union countries only. I have a parcel being returned to me because it does not have a CE mark on a power supply kit. Seemingly, I need to validate every single component and then perform EMF testing on the boards. Otherwise, I'm constantly at risk of boards being returned. So they got some pretty strict regulation changes that went through in December, making sure that electronics shipped is not, too much interference and that kind of stuff. Now, I will mention that in the comments, some people have said that if you're buying stuff from suppliers like electronic parts that have already passed this, and you indicate that, then you don't have to do all this retesting yourself. So it's only if you're creating some brand new piece of electronics, not just a board or a chip or something that's already been pre-approved. So there might be some ways to get around this, unless you're actually designing stuff yourself. And if, quite frankly, if you're just designing raw chips, I think you're probably already dealing with this kind of stuff. Sorry, go ahead.
Possibly related, a bunch of stuff that I sell in my eBay thing got pulled recently due to this. And this was all stuff that had been legal for a while, and now it's
so this is changing the States too, then? Because this is in the UK where you're sitting.
No, this is things. Well, I sell international on eBay. And
okay. So this stuff you tried to ship to Europe
got pulled. I can no longer sell it in Europe, and I got a big list of crap that I had to pull. So yeah, something changed, and oops.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember which response here. Somebody did mention specifically the way to get around is you have to get, your parts that you're using are certified already for that. Then you can actually just list those, and the parent company that created whatever chip or whatever that you're using has the certification already. So you might have to do one test, I guess, to make sure the combination of chips that the way you've laid out your board is not going to cause interference or something like that. But this reminds me of the old FCC, like when the Model 1 came out. The FCC hadn't changed their home computer rules yet, and after that, they did that, and the TRS-80 Model 1 became illegal to sell. or manufacturer because we gave too much interference. Yeah, self-certify. Everything you put on the boards is approved before you buy it. We are going through this at the very moment with our controller project. And for global approval, it's very expensive, but CE shouldn't be. So he's kind of talking about his own company, this James Dexter person, that they just, as long as the certifications are on the chips that they're using on the boards they're selling, that should all be pre-approved because those other manufacturers of the chips have already got them approved to sell in Europe in the first place. So hopefully he manages to get something solved there. And he mentions here too, John Whitworth, that his specific issue was Germany was kind of the one that was sending them back.
Meanwhile, 60 says, if only we had some sort of membership of a kind of group of nations where we can all consider in charge.
That's just impossible.
for the United Kingdom, yeah, probably.
That's part of Brexit, right? Yeah. And then another Dragon one. This one's from Julian Brown. So he posted it on the Dragon Facebook group that he had laid out Stuart Orchard's Mark II PCB, and then posted a picture of it. And he kind of forgotten about it. He picked up Stuart Orchard's schematics for the Mark II PCB, made a few corrections to it, and then started laying out the board. Not sure when I forgot about it, but I rediscovered it over the weekend while diagnosing some stubbornly monochrome boards because he was doing some other motherboards that were supposed to do color and weren't. He said 30 minutes of rooting later, the job is pretty much done. There's always more I can do to tart it up a bit more, like labeling and testing to make sure both the schematic and PCBs are technically correct for now, although I'm happy with the results. I'll kind of zoom it up here. So I'm trying to remember what the details on the Mark II board. We have talked about this before, but it's been a while that Stuart Orchard had posted about. Of course, Stuart, we had on the Dragon special too, because he's done some pretty awesome game programming and other things in the past too.
So the Mark II board, was that the one with the dual 6809s?
Can't remember. Maybe. 60 might know if he's still in the chat. And then the last one for the Dragon here. This, speaking of 60, we covered, I think it was last week or the week before, that he's been testing the SAM ×4 board, which serves a couple of purposes. It adds in a more primitive MMU 16K blocks, plus an 8K common block that you can map between switching, which could make pretty nice MMU style stuff for both the the Dragon type stuff for OS9 and then also for Physix. And since he's a real Linux guy, he prefers Physix to that kind of thing. So he's been fiddling around with that. So he had some updates that he's going back and forth with some people here on the World of Dragon our forums, answering some questions about it too. But he's been fiddling around with the Physix part of it here, and also working with the SDC. And he had a weird moment at a weird issue at the moment with the Physix keyboard scanning, but only in fast mode. And that's the other thing the SAM does. It's basically a SAM doubler like Brendan Donahue does, combined with an MMU, where you can actually run everything at full double speed. And because it's using static RAM and not dynamic RAM, it doesn't have to do dynamic RAM refresh, which means you don't get all the garbage on the screen when you run it at full throttle 1.78 megahertz. So you can actually still read the screen. So it becomes a true, Coco 3 speed on a Coco 1 or 2 or Dragon 3264. Now, this particular board only works on the Dragon 64. Doesn't even work on the Tano Dragon, unfortunately, which also has 64K. I think that's probably more to do with the physical layout than anything else, but it does not work on a Dragon 32 or the Tano Dragon. And he goes, final post he did earlier was, okay, I'm a bit less worried about the Physix keyboard behavior, even on an actual Dragon 64 with no fancy stuff. If I do the keyboard scanning in the same way, extended right to the B side of the PI, followed immediately by extended read from the A side, I get weird behavior. And he gave a disk image with the sample people could test with. The keyboard scanning happened in fast mode. I guess I'm either going to have to slightly reorder the Physix keyboard scan routine or make it force slow mode before it does it. But it does mean the SAM ×8 is probably operating well enough. So it's not a hardware issue with his stuff. It's just the way it's written. And we've hit this before with the emulators too. Like we had the issue with Photon because of little tricks that Jeff Steidl did for the way he was reading the joysticks, where he'd program the side switch instead of left to right joystick, or sorry, the axis, XY axis of the joystick. And then he timed it with some specific things so that the read would happen much quicker than people would normally write that type of routine, because normally you'd switch aside, and he'd switch aside and then immediately read, and it would be off the first one because the PI hadn't had time to switch sides yet. It takes a few cycles. So you could kind of just, rapid fire the two there and actually read both. And that's that kind of trickery here happening as well with the double speed. And that's it for the regular news. So did you want to do a quick commercial, Mark, or do you want to go straight in the game on news? Like if you have to rush back to where you were before, I mean, I can just go straight in and get the show finished.
No, but go ahead and go into game on.
Okay. Could I share one thing real quick? Just a comment. Just because it kind of goes with regular news. I know you didn't cover it though, but AC he's been getting closer with his Gimme Z on the release of that. If you've been following some of the comments,
yeah, he was having. We covered it, I think, last week, where he was trying to get all the 512 and et cetera memory upgrades to work, and some weren't working properly, and some were, and he was trying to narrow that down.
Yep, and he has that narrowed down, and but unfortunately his Magnavox monitor that he had, which was kind of comparable to the CM8 at the time, but probably a better. I think a lot of people felt that the Magnavox was a better.
Oh, definitely. I love mine up here.
Yeah, and he was looking for some testing of that, and so I think Deke is actually doing some testing for him before he does the final release. So where he's getting very, very close to releasing it. But I guess the thing I wanted to share was I have one of those Magnavox here as well. I know it's not going to come across very well. I got it in front of my camera. I don't know if Mark can spotlight me real quick or not, but I really
we can make out the okay.
There we go. Oh, you can make out the okay.
Yeah. If you dim it down, it'll be even easier to see. But
okay. Dim the brightness down.
Yeah, because your camera's blowing it out. Yeah, it's a little bit easier. It's also turning green too now instead of white.
Right.
There we go.
Because I think the dot pitch for 80 was theoretically 0.5, and the CM8
the CM8 was 0.54, and the Magnavox was 0.42.
So it was just enough better to do it.
But I guess I was kind of proud of myself because while we were on the show here, I went ahead and built myself a cable for it to go from the Color Computer 3 to the RGB on the back of it. And so I was kind of proud of myself here, kind of threw that together because it uses the same 6-pin DIN like what's on your deluxe joystick, as far as that type of port on the back of it. So, but plugged it in, it worked the first time. So that was kind of nice. But yeah, no, this is the first time I've actually had this thing fired up, Curtis, since
You'll really notice when you go to 80 column, it's easier to read than a CM8.
Yeah, I was playing with that there a little bit with the 80. I don't know if you guys will see it or not, but it certainly fills the screen nice. The OK is right up here. You can probably see it a little bit.
Yeah, we can see where it is. It's not readable.
Bang a bunch of keys real quick. Yeah.
I mean, you could reset palettes too. I mean, black on green's not probably the best.
Yeah, but you can almost read that from here. That's
right.
If you compare the 80 columns side by side with CMate, you will definitely notice the difference in quality.
Yeah. Well, I just like how it fills that screen really nice there, and it's a bigger screen too. I mean,
14-inch versus 13 diagonal.
Yep. So,
and of course, it's got composite input too. So if you want to run artifact games, you can just hit a switch on the front and it switches to composite.
Correct. Yeah. Yep. Right there. Yep. You're right. Well, I guess it's off camera, but yeah. Yep. So yeah, I was glad to get one of these, but yeah, this is the first time I've had it fired up with the Coco. So anyway, I just wanted to share that and kind of also give a little update on the Gimme Z at the same time, I guess, before you moved on to the news there. So hopefully he'll get them out soon. I'm on the
because I think he said he has a couple dozen that basically once he gets his last couple things tested and solved, they're ready to go. So quite a few people have already submitted orders and stuff for him. So
yep, yeah, he did a pre-order. I think he said he had to get 15. If he had 15 pre-orders, he would move forward with the project, I think is what it was.
And I think he's past that already, right?
Yep, I'm in that pre-order group. So
perfect.
Now, how many of the Gimme X functions is he supporting out of the gate? Because I know he wasn't planning on getting everything working because, of course, they had years between Ed and Gary Becker to make all the changes and updates to the Gimme X because they had like the streaming IO and all this other stuff.
I guess that I'm not sure about, or if he was just trying to do a true representation of the Gimme.
Well, I know he's planning out of the gate of supporting the accelerated 2.86 megahertz with static RAM.
Okay.
If you have static RAM enabled. I don't know if he's supporting all the extra graphics modes and the extended palette and some of the other things that are currently on the Gimme X. Because I'd really like this eventually to replace that and maybe even go past it. Because I think he's using a bigger FPGA or something than the the original Gimme X does. So I might want to upgrade too.
Right.
All I know is it's giving me an excuse to build an Ortimus.
There you go. There you go.
I have to say,
anyway.
Nitrous 9 ease of view, even the GUI at 2.86 megahertz runs pretty damn nice.
Very good. Well, thank you. I just wanted to have a few minutes there. So thanks.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that up. I'd been kind of following it, but I didn't realize he'd actually gotten to the point where Deke's testing out the Magnavox monitors. I think Deke's, though, he's got the stereo version of the Magnavox, doesn't he? 1084S or whatever the heck it was called.
That I'm not sure of what he had there. So
I did fiddle with that at Rainbow Fest one year because they had Orc 90s plugged directly into it, and you can actually hear like the stereo music and stuff.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yep. Yeah, I didn't get
supported by
audio hooked up on
Sockmaster's
mine.
mod player, by the way. Sorry, go ahead.
I didn't get the audio hooked up because these do have the built-in speakers, like you were saying. I do need to. It's like pin 7 or something like that is like the audio that comes out of the Coco 3. So I may hook that up. That's I guess
You can just use the audio out too, because that goes out to both. It goes out.
Correct.
The composite info. Remember, it plays even if you're in RGB mode.
I guess a little shout out to Coco Man. If you buy his cable, he has a composite, a little pigtail that comes out of the connector, which is kind of nice because then you can just have one cable going to the monitor, and he has like a little 8-inch pigtail that comes out of the DIN connector to go to the composite on the back of the monitor. So nice clean install.
Yeah.
So anyway, thanks.
Okay, cool. When if you hear Brian, if he's starting to ship those, have him contact us and maybe come on the show so we can update on where the project is, what parts of the Gimme X it supports type thing, and then you know how fast he's going to be ramping up production and getting about how he's going to do upgrades, etc. too. So
yep, I'll do
because
that.
Has anybody heard anything from Ed in the last 6 months to a year? Because I've even sent emails and had no response.
The last thing I saw was a communication that where he said, I think this was on the mailing list. He had sent an email saying, "Hey, missed all you guys. Looking forward to working with you again." And then that's all I've heard, and that was quite a while ago.
Yeah. I mean, I hope everything's okay with Ed there. I know him and Gary still had some plans, and of course, he's got many products that are out of circulation. The Coco STC, obviously, you can second source with Frank, and he has them in stock. But like the SD card RAM upgrade, extended basic upgrade for the MC10, like that's Ed. The Coco VGA on behalf of Brendan Donnie is manufactured by Ed, and that hasn't been able to sell that in 2 years. So there's a lot of projects there that I hope he either can come back to the community and start making them again, or if he just decides, I just don't want to deal with this or can't deal with this all anymore, maybe contact some of the other hardware manufacturers like Jim Brain or Franklin Harris, etc., and see if they can start taking over production.
Yeah, and like even the 2-port mini MPI. I think or
the 4-port Mega MPI with the built-in sound OPL3 chips and the high-speed serial ports and everything else. Yeah.
Yep, those are still, I think, very desirable. People would probably still scoop those up.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, on to the game news. You guys should see a lot of blue. If I picked the right window.
It's blue.
It's very blue. Okay, so Renga in Blue, is a site that basically blogs about old text adventure games from the 80s on all platforms. And he's kind of going through in chronological order, roughly, kind of like Chronological Gaming does for all games. But these could do much deeper dives. They actually try to play the adventure games they're trying start to finish, like try to win them. Sometimes there's online, walkthroughs that somebody's made, and sometimes they have to figure it out on their own. Sometimes the games have been buggy and they've had to patch the basic code themselves so you can actually win the darn thing in the first place. And so he covered a few here recently that involved the Coco or Dragon. And we've covered a few of these in previous weeks. He's had a few of those games that have been running on ours, and sometimes multi-platform as well. So this is Aardvark's Haunted House, which was originally released around August of '82 on the Coco. And there's actually the artwork that came with it. Now, this was a bit of a different one. Aardvark was kind of famous for doing batches of arcade games, usually by Dave Edson and Roger Smith and a few others. But they also had the text adventure that was done by Bob Rattel and Roger Olson and a few others too, including the person that owned Aardvark. And this one was not your typical adventure, and that this one was specifically oriented towards kids from 8 to 12. And they actually advertise it as such in their own catalogs. And in this particular case here, he played this game over the span of 2 blog posts. And it's fairly simple puzzles, etc. He wasn't sure if it actually made it, better for younger people, but I mean, it's in basics. So maybe part of the learning for the kids were to break into the program, list it, and try to figure out how the hell to, solve a particular puzzle or whatever. And he was talking about some other games that, might have been inspired by it or vice versa. Simple maps, going different parts as he was figuring out how to open up different parts of the map, making notes as to what you'd find in each of these rooms, etc. So that's the first part of it. And then he did part 2, where he actually wins the game. And I can't remember. Yeah, on part 2, he mentions he did find a bug, but he didn't finish the game. It was a pretty minor bug, but he actually, just fixed it because it's basic. And there was another one, I can't remember if it was Haunted House or another one by Aardvark, but they actually, on purpose, provided source with comments to teach you how to write an adventure game, which I thought was pretty cool to do. Of course, magazine stuff had their own stuff too, like Ad Maker by George Murr that appeared in the August 82 Rainbow, but to get one from one of the companies that was selling these games in the first place is kind of cool. But very, very simple. Like I said, it was meant for 8 to 12-year-olds, so not a big, massive bunch of descriptions, not a lot of like really big words or anything, that thing. Fairly limited vocabulary. So if you want to read a full review of Haunted House by Aardvark, and that was later ported to several other platforms like the VIC-20, I think the TI-99, the C64, the Oric might have had it even before the Coco did. Next up, now Ken Reichert was in the chat earlier, so he's talking about some updates to this. So basically, he's got Nightmare Highway on his GitHub, his itch.io page, which he's selling for $3 for the electronic downloadable version. And this is the final edition. So this is not just the same one. The original Nightmare Highway game that he put out in 2020, and if anybody who's been around long enough will remember, this is based on this story of Terry Steen trying to get to CoCoFEST when somebody, dropped a couch off the back of a truck in the middle of a highway at night, and he plowed into it, and, his car was damaged, and he still made it to the fest, given all that, and then had to go back and pick up the car afterwards, if I remember. So they made a game about it, of course. And this is the updated one. So this one acts in the 2025 final edition, which adds the power of Terry. Collect the letters to spell Terry, and the road ahead will clear for a short while. You can increase your score by going to 4th gear while the road is clear and just gun it, because you get more points the faster you're going. And it also includes Terry's Revenge, where you can now shoot at sofas on the road and actually just take them out, which is kind of cool. So this is going to be the final version so far that Ken has been making of this game. And he's also got a little contest that will be going on at CoCoFEST. So if you go and play the game at CoCoFEST, they're going to keep track of who has the highest score. And whoever has the highest score by the end of the fest will get the, what did he call it here? The Davenport Cup. So a bit of a trophy there. So got a bit of competition to go. Plus you got a newer version of the game where you can shoot the couches out of the way and stuff. So
I thought you were going to say whoever wins gets the actual couch.
Well, it's a Davenport. I mean...
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if Terry would want to see that couch in existence anymore. It did pretty good damage to his car. If I remember, I think it was a couple grand to fix it, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was a truck, I think. Took out the whole front end of it.
Yeah. We were just glad he made it okay without getting injured. You're driving on a highway at, interstate speeds, and you hit something out of the blue in the dark. Anyway, go check out his itch.io page. You can download it $3, including documentation and the actual 2025 edition, plus the original 2020 edition as well. So you actually get both versions. Next after that, Tim and AJ, my drunk sibling, for the episode 176 of Sibling Rivalry, has them playing a game we just covered. Ken, was it 3-4 weeks ago we were doing Mazeland? It's pretty recent.
Like 1 or 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
Didn't it end last week?
I couldn't remember if it was last week or the week before.
Oh,
but
that's
really recently.
That's the
anyway.
past. That's the past. Because keep track of that.
So, at any rate, this is one of those times where AJ kicked Tim's butt. She played it once. She'd never played the game before. Tim played it very briefly before they went on air, just to make sure the joysticks and stuff are working. and had some instructions a little bit incorrect, which they figured out later on in the video. But she went and played it cold, never played it before, and she got a pretty decent score. She wrapped through the different levels, I think twice. And then Tim tried multiple games in a row and couldn't get anywhere close. So congratulations to AJ for that. This was a pretty decent game, I thought. I quite liked it. And it's one of the ones that was included in magazine, in this case, Chromoset. And yeah, the banter between them is always fun. And for those of you who don't remember what the game looks like, here's some screenshots. I'll just tone their volume down a bit here. Now, one mistake that Tim made from not reading the instructions is that little red and blue striped square that jumps, he thought it killed you. So he's avoiding it and telling AJ to avoid it at all costs. And that's actually necessary to play well at this game. Because when you hit it, you increase your speed by a factor of 2, and you can outrun the opponents and then also catch up the boxes you're supposed to be catching quite easier. So they did figure that out near the end, but
instructions.
Yeah.
All the birds.
Now I did hear back from AJ as to why she hasn't been on Game On Challenge recently. It's because her most recent job, which she started some months ago, basically she doesn't get off work and get home until 6:30 Pacific time. And by that time, I think usually the show's either over or just getting close to being over. So we're hoping maybe if we have a longer one, maybe we can let her know and she can pop in or do something. Maybe she can record a video and submit that or something. I'm not sure. Or at least, just try to submit the scores. And I haven't heard any excuse for Tim as to why he's not able to come on. So I told her to bug him as well. I'll wait for the response. Next after that, NMI, which has renamed his page to Fabio NMI, and I believe that's his real name. So he did another one of his YouTube shorts here. In this case, he's playing Lunchtime by Novasoft, which is the cheaper software subdivision of Atomic Software. And this is a clone of Burger Time from the arcade. But this one here is actually, because he's playing on a Coco 3 with a CM8, he actually has a version that's patched for RGB, kinda. It's basically patched for P Mode 3, and you'll notice he's actually getting color. He's got, cyan and blues and stuff like that, the white background. Unfortunately, the colors are fairly off, I think, for, an actual Burger Time game. But at least it's in color, not the, vertical stripes of black and white. So I left him a comment mentioning that you can actually, because he's running on a Coco 3, you can actually change the palettes before you load the game. And since it's already in P Mode 3, you don't have to patch it for that. So if you just issue 4 palette commands, you should be able to change these colors to where the heck you want and get as close to the arcade as you possibly can. So you should be able to see like black background and, red and green for the lettuce and, that type of thing, and just change the colors to whatever you think looks the best. So I'm hoping he maybe will respond to that and maybe give a second video kind of showing like how did he patch his palettes to get this game to look as good as he wants. Because I did see there was a few people that complained it didn't look that good because of the colors in his comments. Next up, ZX Frankie, who's been doing a fair bit of Dragon and Coco videos as of late. And he plays games to actually get them entered into high scoreboards. And there's a few of them now that are supporting Dragon and Coco games. We've seen a few people competing on these. On this one, he's playing Eddie Steady Go. And I'm trying to remember, Ken, I think we did cover this one at some point. Where it's basically you go through each screen. You're trying to go from the left side to the right side with a bunch of different obstacles in your way. And it gets progressively harder and harder. And he actually got up to level 11, or section 11 as the game calls it, which I have not gotten that far before. So I actually got to see some screens I'd never seen. But I'll show a little bit.
I remember seeing that.
Okay, I'll play the actual game here. Maybe it was when I was actually creating the web page entry or starting on it. So here's section 1/level 1. And for those of you who played Backtrack, this is the same character.
Nope, doesn't look familiar.
Okay, maybe it was just when I was doing the page recording. This is another one that can be pretty hard. It's a UK game. Like here you got to dodge those shots. And you have a limited amount of time to like jump and crawl through these levels. And you get a time bonus, so that's what's running in the upper right corner. But they definitely get progressively harder and harder. There's some pretty innovative levels a little bit later on, too. And you got these optional apples you can pick up for bonus points. In later levels, it's probably recommended don't bother. Anyway, I'll show section 4, and then I'll jump ahead to some of the ones I've never seen. This one kind of reminds me of Moon Patrol.
Seems like it would be best played on mute.
I think find one of these later levels, like they start getting pretty complicated here. Man. You got timing across this thing here that's going to incinerate you, which she failed the first couple times. I skipped ahead past that. This frog level here was pretty interesting, though, because the frog will kill you with its tongue, but if you jump on it, you can run across until it comes back, and then you fall. So I thought that was kind of an interesting game mechanic. I don't think I've really seen that before.
It's a game with background music too.
Yep.
And that's what makes it sound so, yeah, drives you mad.
And here you've got a moving platform with a hole over top of water, plus a creature on it as well. That's not traveling at the same speed as the platform, so that makes it a bit of a challenge. Didn't quite see what happened there. Oh, there he fell too far, I think. You have to jump. And section 11 where he did his final dying. Anyway, it looks like it's got a fair bit of variety. Some of the later levels are getting to be a bit puzzly. You kind of have to figure out, what you have to do before you can just run out and start dodging things. So, if we haven't played this one before, Ken, this might be one, in honor of the dragon, a little bit later on, we might want to give this one a shot.
With the volume down.
Well, this is the thing, like a lot of people from other platforms like C64 and stuff always complain, like, your Coco games are so boring because, there's just nothing but sound effects. There's no music in the background. But I think a lot of us, and myself included, after a while, I get bored with the music because it's just repetitive. Even if it's a fairly decent song, even if it's a minute or two long, if you play the game for 4 hours straight because you're going for high score, you get sick of it, so you just turn it down. Unless you've got sound effects that are critical to the game. Like, I wouldn't play Phantom Slayer Dungeons of Daggerath with the volume down for sure, because you wouldn't be able to hear when a monster's coming to kill you. And sometimes, a game might have like a little siren sound or a warning sound that, the timers ran out and something bad's about to happen. So you can't. So, yeah, it's actually just a quick survey on the panel here. How many of you prefer games with background music, and how many prefer without, or do you care at all? And that can go even for modern platforms, not just old ones.
Depends on the background music.
Yeah.
Well, it's in there. So,
I
like,
agree.
what I was just seeing there would be highly annoying very quickly.
I want multiple options. I want the game sounds and the music to be separate sliders, so I can.
Yeah, and some of Steve Bjork's later ones, like Super Pitfall, had that option. You could turn the music off and leave the sound effects on.
The first thing I do when I start any new game, like on the PC, for example, is go and change my settings, reverse the controller vertical axis, and turn off all music, even if I haven't heard it.
Right. Or at the most, just a little wisp of it in the background.
Yeah, fairly low volume. Like if you had volume controls on it wouldn't be a bad idea. And the Coco does have the capability of doing that, since we have analog sound. It's not just on off like an Apple II or the original Spectrum or something. And in fact, Daggerath uses that to an absolute advantage, because the monsters get louder the closer they are to you. That's critical to the gameplay.
All right. I usually turn the music off if I can and leave the sound effects.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, Daggerath, you want stereo.
Yeah, the York 90 version. Yeah, I myself, like, sometimes if it's a lengthy music soundtrack, like a good 3-minute song, like not just a repeating 5-second blip like Eddie Steady Go kind of was, then I don't mind it the first few times. Grabber's one, for example, because as you get further in the levels in Grabber, the music changes. So bonus levels have different music than the main levels, and each chunk of the main levels has different music up to a certain point, then it starts to repeat, but at least there's some good variety. The music at the opening scenes of Draconian and stuff like too, because you only hear it at the intro. In the game itself, you just get sound effects automatically. So there's some other different ways to do it, but
The only problem I have with the background music in Grabber is that it is tied to the frame rate. So when you have a lot of screen updates that are happening at the same time, then the music slows down.
yeah, and he's not using that H-Sync interrupt trick that Nick uses on some of his games, latest ones like Pipes and Jumpin' Joey, for example, where you can actually lock in the sound at a certain frequency, but it does take slightly over half the CPU time minimum, which on a 0.895 megahertz, if you're trying to do too much with graphics at the same time, that's not going to work too well.
Lot.
Yeah, you wouldn't be doing a scrolling scramble game or something with music, that's for sure.
And I can totally understand why the frame rate slows down so much with a lot of movements, especially on Grabber, and why he's doing it the way he's doing it. Because if you listen to the music on Grabber, it's literally tied to like each note change is happening on each frame.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got it tied into the main game loop, like when you're drawing a certain amount of graphics and you switch the note or whatever type thing. So as your graphics get heavier and heavier, it slows down.
So if you're into music at all, you get that bad garage band vibe as the song slows down and speeds up.
Well, it's still better than us jamming at CoCoFEST, Rick, I'm pretty sure.
Well, I'm sure it is. It's better than Ringo drumming, but I mean, what you gonna do?
Oh, I like Ringo's drumming. I can't fault
Well,
him.
it's eccentric.
Yeah. Unique. You can recognize a Ringo. I'm getting off topic, sorry.
Well, yeah.
Okay, next up after that, we've got Ellie Mist, who's just joined our Coco community recently, and actually he's been active in the chat. He's under a different name there, though, which I keep forgetting, so I can never remember to mention it. But he reviews adventure games, too, kind of like Ring of Blue, except he does videos and he does speed runs. So he tries to get through an adventure game, whether it's a plain text adventure game or a text adventure game enhanced with graphics on each platform. He'll try to solve it as quick as possible, which means he's using all the, like a lot of the old text adventure games had. It only took the first 3 letters of your commands. So he does that. You know, if the game required 4, he'd use 4, but use the minimum because you're trying to get through it as quickly as possible in the amount of time. And the one he covered, or he covered a few this week, but the one I am starting with here is called Night of the Living Dead. And those of you that were around in the mid to late 80s when this came out, probably remember they actually had full page ads for this in Rainbow. And it's based on the movie Night of the Living Dead by Romero, the original black and white one, except it's because it's strictly text, except for a couple of opening graphics when you start playing the game, the intro screens, etc., is that it gets pretty descriptive on its attacks to and against and for and by zombies. So if you have a bit of a squeamish stomach reading stuff that can get a little bit violent, you may not want to play this game. But it's got a really good parser for the Coco at the time. It handles full sentences with adverbs and adjectives, multiple verb keys, like you can set, pick up key and unlock door in one sentence, like some more advanced parsers. Not too many Coco only games, which this is, went that far with text parsers. Most of them did the 2-word standard ones, or just ignored adverbs and stuff, so you could type them, but it wouldn't actually mean anything. Here they do. And this is a disc-only based game, so the game itself is actually quite extensive. As he shows in this video here, there's actually more than one way to win it. You can get a full win or you can get a partial win. The partial one is when you get to survive yourself by the end of the game, and the second one is which you and the girl both get to survive. But the text stuff is pretty explicit with some of the details of what's happening. And I'd never played the game. I remember seeing these guys at Rainbow Fest back in '86. They were still selling it brand new then. But it is actually one of the better text adventure games. It's almost along the line of an Infocom. I would say it's getting that good type thing myself, with a theme that's a bit more for a more specific audience, for those who don't like the horror genre. So I thought I'd play a little bit of this here. He does show the 2 alternate endings at the end. I won't play that. You can kind of catch that on your own. I'll play with a little bit of intro so you can see how the game start up, and then I'll fast forward to show you some of the actual text adventure play.
Hey, Moon Crew, what's going on? Today we are playing Night of the Living Dead. This one is for the TRS-80 Coco.
Also, I forgot to mention, this is one of the few Coco games. There's a few others like Gates Stillroom that did this as well, where if you were the first person to solve it and you sent in proof of solving it, you could win a prize. Now, Dicom, in their case, when you run Gates Stillroom, I think the first prize was a Coco 3. In this case, you could win $500 US, which is actually pretty damn good for a text adventure.
Let's read the instructions, eh?
Okay, let's not, because it takes a while.
Adventure novel instructions. No printout, please.
This is adventure novel, so you actually did, curved cursive, for this little title screen thing. And then the actual game itself is loading at this point. And you can tell it's hitting the disk as it's loading different paragraphs, and it has a fair bit of variety of the way it presents things. But like the Infocom games, you can get a screen or two screens absolutely full of stuff just describing the room, as opposed to a lot of the, like say the aardvark one we mentioned earlier, where it says you are in the den, and you see a plate. This will go in and explain what the den looks like and what type of a plate it is, and that kind of stuff. Like it's more novel like, more book like. So like the Infocom game's a lot better of a read, I think. And then just go through there. See if we can find one of the more. Yeah, like I'll just read this for the audio or the audio listeners here who can't see this, but just to give you some warning, if you have a squeamish stomach here, maybe mute me for a few seconds, but I'll read the description. So I cut off the original starting, but I'll start in mid-sentence here. So forehead with the chainsaw and bear down until it begins to sink into the skull. Blood spatters your face, forcing you to close your eyes. Icy fingers grip your throat and begin to dig in, but then loosen suddenly as the saw splits the farmer's skull. The farmer's a zombie, just to let you know. His body, as would be expected, crumples to the ground. Then the chainsaw runs out of gas. So pretty descriptive, I think. This was not something you saw too often on the Coco either, or anything, I think, at that point. Marc, you probably have a bit of a wider expanse because the Apple had way more games than the Coco did. Do you remember any adventure games being quite this gruesome description?
No, I don't remember. There's bound to be, but I do not remember any quite this. Apple's more known for the variety of ones, like the Emon series, which people could add their own, things to, which they could have made some that were pretty gruesome, I would think, based on an existing game set, but none that I remember. So, and
for those of you who are familiar with the Night of the Living Dead, Return of the Night of the Living Dead, etc., movies and stuff there, this is pretty well what the movies are like. It's pretty graphic. That was something that was quite famous. I think the very first black and white one that he did as a school project, I think that one was more implied violence with some, but some of the later ones he did, Dawn of the Dead and stuff, there were explicit like ripping intestines out and stuff on screen. So this kind of fits that theme quite well. So if you're a fan of it, and it is based on those movies, so. But yeah, if you have a bit of a squeamish stomach, I would probably recommend not playing this game, even if you speedrun it.
Don't let Ma walk in.
Yeah, I mean, I myself, at that time in the 80s, I loved these types of movies and stuff. I got every single horror movie I could get to watch. So I'm kind of sad I never bought this game back in the day because I would have enjoyed the heck out of this. I know I'm sick.
Would your mom let you?
Oh, they stayed away. If there was a horror movie on, they went upstairs.
That was the fun of it.
Yeah, it was a way to clear the room from your parents. Then you can kind of enjoy yourself by your, with your friends or whatever, that the parents constantly dipping in because they come in and watch somebody's head getting ripped off and turn right around and go back upstairs. Dave Veery actually mentioned in the chat, he said, we bought this game a long time ago, LOL. And he said the 32 context made it extra creepy. I'm not quite sure how that latter part works. But okay.
All right. You can't read ahead much.
Anyway, yeah, as I mentioned, it basically filled the disk, so it's quite extensive with the text it gives, and it has alternate endings. Basically, you're still got the same main mission. It's just that who you can bring along with it. So that was kind of cool too. Next after that, he covered a game called Blackbeard's Island, which, like Lunchtime, was published by Novasoft, the cheaper games division of the Tom Mix software company. And this was programmed by Greg Miller and artwork by another fellow. What the heck was his name? E. Nelson. Oh, designed by E. Nelson and then art by PDM, and I can't remember what that stood for. But Greg Miller, for any of you that did BBSing and stuff back in the day, you might recognize his name from Greggy Term, which was the first terminal program that actually used Coco 3 specific features, but still worked on a Coco 1 or 2. So it gave the ability of using 32, 40, and 80 column hardware text screens. It also gave you 51, 64, and 85 graphic screens for Coco 1 and 2. Supported the RS-232 pack or the Bitbanger. Did 1200 baud on the Bitbanger just fine on the Coco 3. Had X modem upload, download capabilities, and a bunch of things. It was actually my main terminal program as a transition state when I first got my Coco 3, because he released it pretty close after the release of the Coco 3 itself. Because up to then I was using Mikey Term 4.7, which supported the T1 VDG, which the Coco 3 duplicated, so I actually got true lowercase. But once I got into the 80 column stuff, it was like, oh man, these boards that are run by IBM PCs and Amigos and stuff look a heck of a lot better with a screen that actually matches their width. If you came into the Coco 3 a little bit later than right then, you might recognize his name from Color Max 3 and Color Max 3 Deluxe, which he co-wrote with Eric Gaverluck. And those are like, I personally, my personal opinion is I think Color Max 3 Deluxe is the best Coco 3 graphics editor we ever had. Some people prefer Coco Max 3. I think, Ron, you're one of them, if I remember correctly. Or did you really use both of these, or not these, but both Color Max 3 and Coco Max 3, or did you stick with Coco Max 3? Nope, Ron might have stepped away.
Yes.
Ah, darn. Why don't you mute yourself there, Fred?
I'm sorry.
So anyway, Greg Miller actually did some games, which I kind of forgotten about, because he usually did utility stuff and the graphics editing stuff, of course. And this is an animated graphical adventure game that ran off cassette.
Today we are playing Blackbeard's Island, 1984 by Tom Mix Software, by Greg Miller.
Passwords with
written
Macro
by Greg
gameplay.
Miller,
So like Sands of
by color
Egypt.
corrected, alias Blackbeard has raided during a voyage.
In the actual game here. So it load these scenes off disk, and then some of them have animations like clouds drifting, or a volcano erupting, or a whirlpool, and or a waterfall and stuff like that. So, but unlike Sands of Egypt, which required a disk drive, this is more like the Marc Data Products ones, where this would all fit in a 32K cassette. You just load once and you're done, and it plays the entire game. There's a volcano with the smoke coming out of the top. So not the longest adventure game. Sorry, what?
Good use of artifacted colors.
Yeah, he does a lot of the mixes of where you're getting the subtler colors, like the greens.
Yeah, the dithering, yeah.
Now this here, I don't know which emulator he's using, but it's not doing as much dithering as actually appeared on the actual Coco 1 and 2, which some of the newest versions of MAME and XWAR do properly support. I think BCC might even have the newer algorithms too, because there's, if you place different color pixels, not just side by side, but also vertically from each other, you can get some other subtle shades. And this looks more like the more pure. It's not quite, but it's not quite to what the real thing did. But definitely better than the original version of VCC or the Coco 3 Jeff Avasser emulator, which did pure, black, white, red, blue, and that's it. Looks a lot better. But a nice little adventure game. I remember our club actually bought this one. A few of us took it out and actually solved it, though I'd completely forgotten how until I watched this again. But some animations, that some of the objects you can pick up and drop actually appear on the screen, and a nice little adventure game. The next one here is a speed run that is called Escape Pulsar, and it's a cross-platform game that appeared on multiple, like over half a dozen platforms. And it's part of the Mystery Adventure series. It's the 5th one. Now, he mentions in the comments here about which ones that he mentioned and what, time length. Now, this has actually changed since I checked this last night, because he had all the other platforms listed, including the Dragon. And he couldn't find the Dragon version. But I think, 60, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you actually went on the World Dragon forum. And if you go to the software section, which is done by publisher, not by game title, unfortunately, and find the publisher of this game, there is a copy of it there, but the search doesn't always find it. There's some breakage between the main games list, because I don't think it's been updated since like 2022. And there's also a bit of a breakage on searching, so that sometimes you have to find it by publisher. You have to go through drilling down. And I think 60, you found it actually. So I think you've kind of responded to him in our Coco Discord. So hopefully we'll have an update to this later on and include the Dragon version. Because that's the only one he didn't have. Now, when I saw this last night, he was missing a few of these others. The Atari 800 version wasn't up there. Actually, the Apple II versions disappeared too. Because he had the Apple II text and the Apple II graphics version on when I looked at this last night. So this video has changed quite a bit. It'll be interesting to find out why. Next up, we have Expertech. And this time he did his Coco 2 and an Amber monitor, real hardware. He's got a collection of games from his Volume 5 disc that he made back in the 80s. And there's a few basic games. There's some ML games that we've covered many times before. Now, he's actually done all of these as split videos before. I think what he does is that he probably tapes a sequence where he goes through all the games on a disc. And this is one of those where it's a combination. It's like almost an hour long, where he goes through some of the games. And then I think he splits off and does individual videos, and he usually releases the individual ones first. So if you missed any of the previous 5 or 6 there that he's done, this will be kind of a combo package. And in this case, he covered games like, I think Buzzard Bait was on here. Sprouting, which is the one you're seeing on the screen. This is a basic game, and I'm not familiar with that one. I think it's from a magazine. Clowns and Balloons, Graphos, which is another one I don't remember. Ninja Warrior, which I definitely do remember. And Space War, which I think we just covered last week, one of the earliest Spectral Associates games. So I won't bother playing because we've seen all these play before. Next up, a channel I've not seen before called Ultra Gamer 81. Posted a 13+ minute gameplay video of the Tomix classic Donkey King. And this one, it looks like he's got one of those middle era emulators, because the artifact colors are better than the pure color I was talking about earlier. It has some of the subtleties, but it doesn't have all the subtleties that the actual stuff would show, or the latest emulators will show. But one thing I'll give him props on, there's been quite a few that have been recorded where the videos, or sorry, the audio is a bit choppy. There's some background noise and clicking and a bunch of other things. Some of that's emulators, some of that's bad copies, because I've actually had that on the real Coco with some copies, where there's kind of a static in the middle of the background music. The music in this video is pristine. It just sounds awesome. And he actually is a good enough player. He makes it through all 4 screens. So if you want to see all the screens in action on Donkey King and you haven't seen them before, and hear the music without any, artifacting sound bits happening on, this is a perfect video to do it. And he actually got a pretty decent score. I don't know if he's planning on submitting it as a score into one of the official high score sites, but it was 30 some odd thousand, I think. All right, for those of you that have not seen the Pie Factory, because that's difficult to get there, unless you do cheat pokes, I thought I'd show a little bit of it for you here. And this is one of the screens that a lot of other machines, including the ColecoVision and others, did not have this screen. And I think the Coco was one of the first clones, actually, out of everybody that had all 4 screens of Donkey Kong. Now, it does play a little bit differently than the arcade. The arcade had moving ladders up and down over here, but pretty darn close. And one of the reasons that the Coco actually became a bit of gaining a bit of a game playing fandom, because this is one of the games that you could pull out and you can compete with anybody in 1982 when this came out. And still a favorite of mine. It's hard, but it's not European hard. And the last one, and this is from Attempts, a gaming channel by LRU. We have covered him before. He is definitely into the high score submissions. And this time he played Slay of the Nereus, or Nereus. I'm not even sure how to pronounce this. It's a Centipede clone that Spectral did for Tandy. And he got a pretty decent score, 23,951. And as you can see later in the game, it gets pretty hectic. Mushrooms take multiple shots to kill. I think 3 or 4. Spectre wasn't known for having the best sound of the games. They kind of had the same sound routine they used over and over again, so they start to all sound the same. But it has basically all the elements of Centipede there. I don't think the arcade version has a part where in later levels the mushrooms take more than 1 shot to hollow out. But I guess they kind of chip away from the bottom. But anyway, like I said, he got a pretty decent score. And I don't remember who got the high score in our Game On Challenge, or if he beat theirs. I don't know if Ken has a handy or not, but his final score was 23,951. And that's it for the news this week.
Is it over yet?
Yes, you can wake up now, Nick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Wow, this has been an adventurous show.
And it
Yeah,
actually
well, a big thank you to both Marks here for Marco. You know, even with the struggles there, getting the show going, and
even with
and
the
then Mark
struggles and
B
everything
for
else,
kind of picking up. Sorry.
even with the struggles and everything else, we're still under 4 hours.
Yep.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't know how we're going to put this one back together again, but
Well, we just have a little collection. Yeah.
We'll fix it in post.
There we go.
It'll be fine.
Hey.
Oh, it's on this mouse.
And Nick, next week is when you're going to be showing off the current state of your pinball game, both here and on the Amigos channel.
The current state.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, isn't what is that? Let me look at my calendar real quick. I thought that was next week. Next week is the International Computer Club meeting for those who are on the Amigos Discord, and that's happening at 4 o'clock. So if I'm on, and that's happening at 4 o'clock tomorrow, Eastern.
Yeah.
For hardware gurus, Curious Marc has had some struggles this week with a pet.
Oh yeah.
Like a cat or a dog? What do you mean?
No, a Commodore pet. One of the ones with the old chiclet keyboards.
At the outset,
With the teeny space bar?
Yep. So he's up to four bad RAMs and 2 bad ROM chips.
Oh wow,
nifty!
I loved it at the outset how he says that the microprocessor is black magic.
Yeah, and the CPU is not CPUing.
Yeah.
So that's a good watch there. So
He doesn't have a super pet though, what the 6809 had today.
No, it's the original. It's the original one.
Original 6502 1977 model. That's the
built-in
one I
tape
first
drive.
used in school.
Good Lord. Only place I've seen more people waking up is in basic training during Reveille. That's awesome.
Okay, I guess we're ready for the outro then.
Sure.
Yep.
This concludes another episode of the CoCoNation, the world's leading live interactive talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer. For all things the CoCoNation, visit us on the web at thecoconation.com. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to show@thecoconation.com. The CoCoNation show would not exist without the community and its cast and crew. The CoCoNation theme song, copyright 2022, D. Bruce Moore. Mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore. The CoCoNation is over. Join us on the Coco Discord server. Coco forever.
Okay, that should be it for this week. Last weekend before CoCoFEST.
Is that right?
Yep. Next week is the last week before CoCoFEST.
Oh, next week is the last week.
Yep,
Okay.
this weekend.
Yeah,
So,
you don't even get a Game 1 challenge because you got to start driving on Thursday.
Yep, time to start packing up.
Time to order them shirts, and I'll have shirts on for next week.
Yeah, and we finally have a chance of winning the Game On Challenge again here because all these guys will be busy and not playing. So.
Yep, my shirt's ordered and be here next week.
Yep, I got my shirt on the way. I think it's already shipping.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm thinking these guys on Monday, earlier this week says, damn, a lot of people ordering this same shirt. Suddenly, this one design is flooding their production.
The new one that.
Yours.
Oh, I thought maybe the other guys.
Okay, okay, that's it for now. Happy Easter and bye till next week.
Oh yeah, Easter.
Bye,
and stuff.
everybody. Happy Easter.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.